The story opens with the desolate, ruinous scene of a devastated city. A young man with weary, dazed eyes looks around where dust clouds obscure the sky. My name is Chao Xiaoyang. I was just an ordinary university student. Because his roommate unplugged his charger, the alarm didn't go off. Rushing to school at 8 a.m., he had a traffic accident and was thrown 800 meters by the impact. He looked ahead with a disheartened gaze, bewildered to find that when he woke up, the whole world had changed. He had transmigrated into an apocalyptic world full of dangers. Before him was chaos. A crowd struggling to fight a giant octopus, its tentacles thrashing like deathly arms. A blond man leapt up, his sword flashing as he severed a writhing tentacle. Everyone thought victory was certain, but to their surprise, a new tentacle sprouted instantly where the one had been cut. Someone in the group yelled in panic. "Not good. This mutant can regenerate. What do we do?" Chao Xiaoyang stood at a distance, silently watching the horrific scene, his heart heavy as if crushed by a boulder. At first he had thought himself fate's favorite, chosen to shine like a novel's protagonist, roaming and achieving miracles. But soon he realized things weren't as simple as he'd imagined. He began sinking into painful memories of past failures. The first time, he led survivors out of a zombie siege but was bitten and died. When he opened his eyes, he was back at the starting point. The second time, using experience from his previous life, he guided people past the zombies but died of starvation from lack of supplies. The third time, he disguised himself as someone bitten by zombies to forage for food but was shot in the head by the military. The fourth time, he finally awakened a supernatural ability and built a base, only to be betrayed by a trusted brother, leading to a tragic death. Then the fifth, sixth times, each time he died, he returned to the day he first arrived in this world. This was the ninth time. His hope was exhausted. All that remained was resignation. But fate wouldn't leave him be. He was forced to enlist and became a soldier in this brutal war. The situation was dire. The giant octopus's tentacles writhed like ghostly serpents, ready to snatch anyone's life. The group was weakening, unable to hold on. Those with strength fled. But what about Xiao Na? And the supplies? People in the safe base were counting on every scrap of food to survive. They couldn't hesitate. If they didn't run, everyone would die here. Xiao Na was wrapped tightly by a massive tentacle and couldn't escape. She could only scream, "Help me! Don't leave me here." The octopus lifted her up, preparing to swallow her. Xiao Na let out a piercing, desperate scream. Chao Xiaoyang stood below witnessing it, feeling a sense of indifference rising, like a broken jar that no longer feared another crack. He thought to himself that if he couldn't escape this wretched world, then at least this time before dying he wanted to do something worthwhile. He let out a long shout, and in a flash he lunged straight at the giant monster. Those fleeing turned and gaped in stunned amazement. What's that kid doing? Is he suicidal? Has he gone mad? He's running right into death. But Chao Xiaoyang paid no mind to the whispers. He raised his sword, his eyes burning with determination, and sliced two tentacles in half. Xiao Na was freed and fell to the ground with a thud. She trembled and moved, said, "Thank you for saving me. You're very brave." Chao Xiaoyang had no time to pay attention to her. He coldly replied, "Get out," then immediately dashed off, leaving Xiao Na sitting there bewildered. His target was the grocery store behind the giant monster. Bursting inside, he was stunned by the uncanny silence. The precious goods remained intact on the shelves, like treasure on the line between life and death. Without hesitation, Chao Xiaoyang raided everything, from hamburgers to potato chips, devouring them as if he'd forgotten the world. Then he found a bottle of soda and couldn't contain his joy. "Finally I can drink." He took a swig of Coke. The refreshment felt like being reborn. Outside, the octopus raged over the lost prey. It snarled, its eyes blazing red, fixed on the person inside the grocery store. Chao Xiaoyang was absorbed in the bottle, unaware of the massive dark shadow silently closing in. A giant tentacle swayed behind him, ready to deliver a fatal blow. He sighed with relief, smiled, and felt no more regrets. As predicted, a second later his vision flooded with blood. Then his eyes opened. He was still lying in the grocery store, just as before he blacked out. He looked around, surprised, and blurted, "Why is it the same place as before? Haven't I returned to the starting point?" He hurriedly groped over his body, wondering, could it be I didn't die? Suddenly, a mechanical voice rang out from nowhere. "No, you died, but you're alive again."
Cao Xialiang Yôn Tết.
"Who's speaking?" The system replied, "Congratulations, host. You have activated the system. I am your unlinked system. Code 2333. A sphere of light gradually appeared before him. Chao Xiaoliang stammered, "System." He rushed forward and hugged it tightly, tears and snot streaming. "Why are you only here now? I've waited until the flowers withered. Do you know how horribly I died?" He rubbed his face against the orb while bawling. "Give me a reasonable explanation, or I'll file a complaint against you." The system couldn't bear it and shot up into the air, murmuring, "Host, please calm down. The reason I'm late is because, there was a small incident." He pressed, "What happened?" The system dodged, glanced elsewhere, then said, "You may not believe it. The roommate system stole my charging cable, so the alarm couldn't ring." Chao Xiaoliang's mouth twitched. He raked his hair and replied, "No, I believe you. There's no point digging into it now." He immediately changed the subject. "Fine. Better late than never. Have you brought all the golden finger hacking gear?" The system replied crisply, "Of course." It presented a rolled paper bearing a map and lines of text. "But per procedure, let me read the mission to you. You are currently in an apocalyptic world. Your mission as host is to save this world and restore its peace. Complete the mission and you'll be resurrected in the real world. Fail and you'll be erased entirely." After explaining, it rolled the paper up. "You have a total of 10 chances. 9 have been wasted. This is the last one." Chao Xiaoliang couldn't help shouting, "You're saying I wasted them?" The system chuckled awkwardly. "Don't dwell on those details. Precisely because time is short, we must make the most of every precious moment." As the system finished, the space around them warped and twisted as if manipulated by an invisible hand, forming a teleportation gateway glittering with light. "Brave young man, prepare to receive your first mission." In an instant, Chao Xiaoliang appeared on a desolate street where houses lay in ruins, as if struck by an apocalyptic storm. The system's mechanical voice rang out again. "Today's first mission. Sell snacks to earn 50 crystals. You'll receive accumulation points to exchange for attributes, spatial area, and many other attractive rewards." Seeing this, Chao Xiaoliang ground his teeth in anger. He sprang up and shouted, "Who said my salvation has to hawk goods?" His shout echoed and drew the attention of nearby zombies. They all turned their milky eyes toward him. One of them was even gnawing on something that looked like the remains of a horrific meal. Panicked at the zombies about to lunge, Chao Xiaoliang stammered, speechless. "And another thing, did you pick this spot so they'd treat me like a snack?" His scream tore through the sky, but he had no mind for selling now, only knowing to run for his life as fast as he could. Chao Xiaoliang sprinted madly, trying to escape the zombies. The system asked, bewildered, "Host, why are you running?" He shouted back, "Nonsense. If I don't run, wait to be bitten." But no sooner had he said that than he suddenly froze, as if remembering something important. His eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Right, I have a system now. What do I have to fear from these losers?" He straightened, hands on his hips, calling loudly, "Old 2." The system immediately reacted, annoyed, "Please call me number 2333. Chao Xiaoliang smiled dangerously, with a hint of self-satisfaction, clenching his fist. "All right, old 2. What's my superpower? The agility of a leopard, the speed of an eagle, the strength of a bear. Show them all." An information panel suddenly appeared before his eyes. It read, Name, Chao Xiaoliang. Strength, unscored. Speed, unscored. Perception, unscored. Intelligence, 2. Storage space, unopened. Stall area, 2 square meters. A long list of stats all displayed the phrase unscored. Chao Xiaoliang pondered and muttered, "What does unscored mean?" The system replied casually, "It means the value is too low to meet the minimum scoring threshold. Your physical attributes are still at their initial state. To improve them, you need to earn accumulation points to exchange. He frowned. So basically, on my body only the brain is usable for now? Before he could think further, a zombie suddenly lunged at him. He screamed in panic and continued running for his life. While running, he yelled at the system, "You swindler! Didn't you say there's support software?" The system flew behind him, frowning, and answered, "The support software was given to you. There used to be a stall right in front of you, but you didn't cherish it. By the time it's gone, you'll regret it." Chao Xiaoliang froze. "You mean that torn piece of cloth?" The system snapped irritably. "What torn cloth? That's your upgrade item." Hearing that, he immediately spun and dashed back the way he'd come. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" He bent down and grabbed a rusty iron bar lying by the roadside, preparing to confront the charging zombies head-on. Without hesitation, Chao Xiaoliang swung the iron bar, striking the nearest zombie hard on the head. The closer he got to the cloth, the fiercer he struck. Suddenly, a zombie lunged straight for his thigh. He was slammed down, tumbling several times, and finally came to rest right on top of the cloth. The zombies seized the opportunity and charged in all at once. Faced with the desperate scene, Chao Xiaoliang gave a bitter smile. He hadn't expected to die so quickly. In terms of speed, it was truly record-breaking. His hand trembled as he clenched it, voice full of sorrow. Even seeing snacks no longer stirred his appetite. This might really be the end. But as he braced for the pain of the bite, a radiant light suddenly flared up. The zombies that touched the light immediately froze and stopped their attack. To his astonishment, they one by one withdrew, as if he had become invisible to them. Chao Xiaoliang cried out in astonishment. "What's going on? Are those zombies blind?" The system sighed, exasperated by his slow wit. "I told you it's the golden finger. Why are you only seeing a piece of cloth?" He excitedly picked up the cloth and inspected it. So it was protecting me. He couldn't help hugging it tight. "My treasure. It's truly like a talisman and armor." Suddenly he remembered something and asked the system, "Right. Does this function only work on zombies? What about other mutated creatures?" The system replied, "This item can block all forms of attack. As long as you're within the stall area, nothing outside can harm you." Chao Xiaoliang's eyes widened. He sprang up with joy, humming and twirling as if about to dance. "I close my eyes, hold a stall in my hand. I am invincible." The system immediately cut through his daydream. "Don't celebrate too soon. The stall's blocking function can only be used 3 times per day. If you don't complete the mission within the allotted time, the function will expire. You have half an hour left before sunset." It continued, "After dark, zombies become more active. Hurry, host." Chao Xiaoliang sighed. "This place was just cleared by zombies. There's no one left. Who do you want me to open shop for?" Suddenly, a voice called from afar. "We're really lucky today. We grabbed a lot of stuff." 3 men who looked like they were part of the same group strolled up. The leader said, "Didn't expect this unexpected haul. Let's surprise the boss when we get home." The man beside him chimed in, "The boss will be so pleased he'll surely reward us." Chao Xiaoliang felt a quiet thrill. Customers have arrived. When the 3 men spotted him, he quickly arranged his goods on the cloth, looking professional like a real vendor. The 3 asked curiously, "What's that?" They scanned the stall. "Isn't that fruit candy? How did a place like this have that?" He beamed and replied, "The little shop doesn't only have fruit candy. There are potato chips, shrimp crackers, and soda. What would you like?" The 3 erupted as if they'd found treasure. "Potato chips? And beef jerky too. I haven't had soda in 3 years. I almost forgot what it tasted like." Chao Xiaoliang continued, "Little brother, today is my first day selling. If fate has brought you to me, no need for 998. No need for 98, just 50 crystals and all the snacks come home with you. How about it? Quite a deal, right?" The 3 suddenly fell silent, eyes flicking to one another, then burst into laughter. "This kid dares charge us? Don't tell me he's an idiot." The masked man lifted a bottle of coca, the other hand gripping a gun, and said in a deep voice, "I'm in a good mood today. Leave your stuff and go, or I'll let you taste a hot lead." Chao Xiaoliang frowned at them, then suddenly stepped forward, snatched the coca from the man's hand, and muttered, "Thought I'd found a savior. Turns out it was a waste of time." The masked man immediately aimed his gun straight at Chao Xiaoyang, murderous intent as sharp as a blade. "Kid, you're asking for death." A shot rang out, but at the same time Chao Xiaoyang's invisible shield activated. The bullet not only failed to hit him, the gun exploded in the man's hand. The blast dazed the masked man. Flinging his body several meters away, he collapsed unconscious. His companions panicked, eyes wide. What happened? Why did the gun go off prematurely? Is this kid someone with superpowers? The other man shook his head, voice trembling. "No way. I've never heard of such a strange superpower." Chao Xiaoyang paid no mind to their chatter. He happily bent down, pressed his face to the cloth, and kept exclaiming, "So real. My treasure can even reflect a bullet." The other two, seeing his foolish expression, couldn't help whispering, "He looks like an idiot." One of them spoke up, suspicious. "Tell us, who exactly are you? What are you trying to pull?" Chao Xiaoyang stretched the word out and replied, "Idiot. There are countless people with superpowers in this world, but only one chosen person." He rubbed his hands and grinned slyly. "So now, just spend 50 crystals and you can take home a pile of snacks, plus a free photo and autograph." The two men snarled in anger. "What chosen one? Do we look like 3-year-olds? It must be the gun malfunction. I'll beat you to death." Seeing their stubbornness, Chao Xiaoyang sighed helplessly. "Seriously, you didn't listen to anyone. Bringing this on yourselves." One of them threw a blazing punch at him, but unsurprisingly, the blow was stopped by the invisible shield. The recoil from the punch made the man clutch his arm and scream miserably, "Oh, my arm's broken." Witnessing his two comrades' misery, the remaining blonde man began to hesitate, his feet frozen as if nailed to the ground. Seeing him falter, the other two shouted, "What are you standing there for? Kill him." Chao Xiaoyang said nothing, only glared silently at the blonde man. His gaze was cold as a blade, making the man tremble with fear. He raised his hand. A blue spark of electricity crackled across his palm as he shouted. The blonde man startled, took a step back, then turned and fled like smoke. "This kid is a monster. I don't want to die." His two comrades were stunned by his cowardice and yelled in anger, "Don't leave us, you unfaithful bastard." Then the two said nothing more and ran with all their might to save their lives. Chao Xiaoyang called after them, "Don't run. I want to ask if there are any other people around." Suddenly, he noticed something strange, a burlap sack tossed on the ground, clearly belonging to the three men. He looked curiously. "What's this?" The mouth of the sack suddenly moved. He jumped and exclaimed, "It's moving!" Unable to contain his curiosity, he prodded the sack lightly a few times. "Is it some kind of animal?" Having said that, he carefully untied the cord. A living creature immediately leapt out of the sack. He watched, stunned, when he realized it was a woman. She had shimmering silver hair, like a waterfall glittering under the amber sunset. Her curves were alluring, slim waist, full chest, exuding an enchanting beauty. She turned her head and their eyes met. Chao Xiaoyang was dazed and blurted, "So beautiful!" But immediately the silver-haired woman glared, her pupils flashing with madness. She lunged at him like an arrow from a bow. Chao Xiaoyang panicked and ran. "Now's not the time to admire a beauty," he shouted hoarsely. "She's clearly a zombie." Her hand slammed down where he'd been standing, creating a terrifying shockwave that shook the ground. He nimbly dodged, escaping by a hair. Staring up at the monster in fear, he exclaimed, "What the? Zombies can be this fast." In his panic, his hand accidentally brushed against a black object on the ground. Without thinking, he hurled it hard toward her. The silver-haired woman raised her hand to catch it, and the tense chase continued. Thanks to his experience from before, Chao Xiaoyang ran straight back to his stall, urgently grabbed the precious cloth treasure. He quickly packed up the goods, muttering as he worked, "Damn, used up all 3 chances. If I'd known, I would have saved some. If I'm caught now, I'm done for." He intended to keep fleeing, but when he looked up, the silver-haired woman had flashed over his head and landed lightly in front of him. He startled, fell backward with a thud, scattering the food across the ground. The silver-haired woman glared, Her hand gathered energy, ready to deliver the finishing blow. Facing an unstoppable force, Chao Xiaoyang could only scream in desperation, "Don't come near!" Despite his fear, he kept picking up the fallen snack boxes and throwing them at her. Sure enough, this only made her angrier. He didn't give up. He grabbed another bag of snacks, threw it straight ahead without looking, and closed his eyes to await his fate. But after a while, nothing happened. He timidly peered open his eyes, and was astonished to see the silver-haired woman chewing dried squid contentedly. She swallowed with a gulp, her expression satisfied as if she'd savored a divine dish. Chao Xiaoyang gasped, "Does this zombie like dried squid?" After finishing, she crawled toward him, eyes glittering, drool at the corners of her mouth, seeming to crave more. He frantically groped the ground, inner panic screaming, "Oh no, no dried squid left. What do I do now?" Thinking fast, he murmured, "I wonder if she eats other things?" Clumsily, he grabbed a bag of biscuits, tore it open, and tossed a piece forward. She immediately opened her mouth and bit it, chewing and swallowing with satisfaction. He breathed a sigh of relief. "That's great." While tossing the biscuit, he backed up slowly, until he bumped against a deep crevice. From the fissure, a strange red light glowed from flowing molten lava below. Without hesitation, he threw the bag of biscuits into the chasm. The silver-haired woman immediately lunged after it without hesitation. Chao Xiaoyang stood above, wiped the sweat pouring down his face, and sighed in relief. Saved. After eating snacks, she can't eat me anymore. As he was about to leave, he suddenly noticed a glowing object on the ground. He picked it up and examined it. "This dagger is high quality." Then he exclaimed in surprise, "This is." On the dagger's hilt was engraved a yellow gear symbol. He immediately recognized it as the mark of the Jinglei Legion, the most notorious looting faction in the post-apocalyptic world. He recalled that their boss was an evolved being with tremendous power. Their followers were reckless, using numbers to pillage, so brazen they treated the army as nothing. Thinking of this, Chao Xiaoyang broke into a cold sweat. Were those three just now from them? No wonder they carried so many magazines. He put the dagger away, bent down, and picked up the sack that had held the silver-haired woman. "This bag isn't bad, sturdy enough. Keep it. It might be useful later." While picking it up, he accidentally opened the mouth of the sack and discovered another small pouch inside. Curiously, he murmured, "What's this? Let's open it." He was stunned to find the pouch full of glittering crystals. Talk about luck. He cried out excitedly, "These are crystals! So many, up to 50. He hugged the pouch to his chest like a treasure, overwhelmed with unexpected joy. He hadn't expected to finish the task so quickly. The system suddenly appeared and doused him with cold water. "These crystals were picked up by you, not earned from sales, so they don't count toward the stall's income." Chao Xiaoyang immediately objected. "Why wouldn't they count? Tell me, didn't that female zombie just eat dried squid and beef jerky? Aren't these crystals what she left behind?" The system, faced with this situation for the first time, faltered and didn't know how to reply. Although she was a zombie, Chao Xiaoyang paid no mind and kept arguing. "Your rules never said the customer must be human. With such narrow thinking, how can you grow strong and achieve great success?" Seeing the system remain silent, he flopped to the ground and pretended to cry. "Besides, it's dark now and I can't find anyone else. If you don't keep your promise and kill me, fine then." The system had no choice and muttered a curse. "Damn! Stuck in a bug." Then it declared loudly, "Congratulations, host. Mission completed." Points were awarded, the space opened, and the stall was upgraded. A splendid, grand cart appeared before his eyes, far beyond the torn cloth he started with. All the tools on the cart were clean and neatly arranged. Chao Xiaoyang stared, dumbfounded for a long moment. When he sobered up, he opened the notification panel to check. This was the legendary storage space, but inside there were only 4 items: rice, meat, and vegetables. He turned to the system and asked, "Is that all? I've seen other people's spaces with all kinds of medicine, weapons, even planes and cannons." The system sneered, "We're a stall system, not an armory. You're not even out of the village yet. What are you asking for, a bicycle?" Chao Xiaoyang muttered, stuck, then asked, "What can I exchange these points for?" The system replied, "A catalog of goods and value attributes. However, with your current points, space usage is minimal, so the only items available are these." The screen showed, current points 21, toothbrush 300 points, bowls and plates 450 points, soap 200 points, scissors 250 points. Chow Xiaoliang rubbed his head and sighed. Really rather mediocre. He continued sadly, "Although the stall can block attacks, it only works 3 times per day, and I can't hide in it 24 hours. Right now, the most important thing is improving my self-defense." Without hesitation, he told the system, "Attendant, convert everything to stamina points." The system happily accepted. Received. Host, stamina +1, conversion complete. Man and system looked at each other, waiting for results. But nothing changed no matter how long they waited. Chow Xiaoliang was disappointed that nothing had shifted. The system made no comment and only announced a new mission. Obtain 100 crystals and hire a server within 24 hours. Hearing this, Chow Xiaoliang's face twisted. 100 is too many, and what is a server? Does he have to share his tiny stall with someone else? At that moment, a gust of wind blew, slapping a flyer straight into his face. Printed on it was a picture of a female server in a maid outfit, with the words, "Welcome, dear customers." He looked at the paper and murmured, "This is the milk tea shop across the street. I remember that girl used to come to school handing out flyers and offering free samples." Memories flooded back, leaving him wistful. He wondered how she was now, whether she was still alive. But the reverie didn't last long. His imagination began to run wild. He daydreamed of a beautiful blonde in a maid outfit calling him boss. The image energized him. He cheerfully pushed the cart, exclaiming, feeling instantly motivated. The scene shifted to the lava-filled chasm, where a dark figure suddenly leapt into the air. It was the silver-haired woman he had tricked into jumping earlier. She looked around, then slowly got to her feet, her face sad and contemplative. After that, she ran off in some direction for reasons unknown. Dawn broke. Chow Xiaoliang had pushed the cart all night and finally stopped before a dilapidated shop. He cautiously stuck his head in and whispered, "Anyone here?" For zombies heard the sound and slowly tilted their stiff necks to look at him. Seeing it was unsafe, he hurriedly shut the door and politely said, "Sorry to bother you." Without another word, he spun and ran like mad. Weren't these the zombies from yesterday? Why wouldn't they leave him alone? The system replied evenly, "They were here before you. You were the intruder." The zombies opened mouths like blood bowls and chased wildly. One with terrifying spring leaped up and lunged at the cart. As expected, it was knocked away by the defensive shields several meters. But Chow Xiaoliang wasn't pleased. He cried out in regret, "The block function can only be used 3 times a day. We can't waste it like this." Saying that, he scrambled to push the cart and flee. Where he hadn't noticed, the zombie that had been knocked away began to mutate grotesquely. It let out a horrifying roar, its body folding into an unnatural posture, then crawled toward him at a terrifying speed, opening its mouth aimed at his heel. Chow Xiaoliang noticed in time and nimbly dodged the bite. He cursed angrily, "You bastard, sneaking attacks now?" With that, he delivered a powerful kick to its face. The zombie flew into the air and smashed straight into a nearby vending machine. The loud crash froze the other zombies. The vending machine toppled and crushed the zombies that couldn't dodge. Chow Xiaoliang stood stunned at the sight and murmured, "Did I do that?" One kick and its head cracked. He shouted excitedly. Turns out the power boost was real. The system spoke, "Congratulations, host, on successfully killing your first zombie. Reward, a newbie gift pack, a single-use raincoat." Chow Xiaoliang inspected the item and muttered, "Isn't this just a piece of plastic? What's the use?" The system explained, "Don't underestimate it. It's made from high-tech material, waterproof, insulating, and blocks all toxins. Wear it, and even swimming in contaminated water won't harm you. But it's single-use." Chow Xiaoliang was skeptical. Could it really be that miraculous? Suddenly, the sound of many hurried footsteps rose. An army of zombies was approaching. He looked around in alarm and saw zombies everywhere. Exclaiming, "So many zombies?" He thought to himself that this was bad. The noise must have attracted them. A wave of despair hit him. It was a dead end with no way back. At that moment, a soft voice sounded from behind. "Come here quickly." It was a girl in a maid outfit hiding behind the door. Chao Xiaoliang looked down and saw the zombies trapped under the vending machine wriggling out. Ahead, a dense horde of zombies was ready to charge at any moment. Without hesitation, he shoved the cart and dashed toward the girl. The door slammed shut quickly, blocking the zombies outside. He panted, "Thank you so much. If it weren't for you just now, I would have been in trouble." But looking closer, he cried in surprise, "It's you." The girl blinked. "You know me?" Meeting someone familiar in such chaos made him elated. "I'm a student at a school. You used to come to my school to promote the milk tea and even offered samples. Don't you remember me?" The girl smiled brightly. "Of course I remember. I remember you were good at basketball and especially liked peach-flavored boba milk tea." But inwardly she thought otherwise. He wasn't a heartthrob, just ordinary-looking. In a university full of people, how could she remember him? Chao Xiaoliang didn't detect the lie and innocently replied, "But I'm on the soccer club, and I don't like peach flavor." The girl hurriedly fell silent, gently pushed his shoulder, and changed the subject. "That doesn't matter. Anyway, it's great to see you again." Chao Xiaoliang immediately forgot the earlier point. A thought flitting through his head. So soft. After a moment of chatting, he remembered and asked, "Oh right, I still don't know your name." She answered, "I'm Nai Cam." He introduced himself. "I'm Chao Xiaoliang." Nai Cam smiled sweetly and called, "Brother Liang." The call made him tremble, and he turned his back and sobbed. It was the first time in his life a girl had called him brother, and from such a pretty girl, he was overwhelmed with happiness. Nai Cam was speechless, wondering why he was crying. Suddenly, a noise rang out. Chao Xiaoliang snapped to alert and shouted, "Who's there?" He stepped forward to pick up a rolling can on the ground, when another sound came from the closed door beside them, making him jump. Chao Xiaoliang cautiously approached the mysterious door and reached out to touch the handle. Suddenly, Nai Cam's terrified voice cried from behind, "There's a rat!" She leapt into his arms as if to stop him opening the door and cooed, "Brother Liang, I saw it. It's a rat." Chao Xiaoliang was pulled away and asked, "Where's the rat?" She replied offhandedly, trying to distract him, "It ran over there. I'm so scared." In a shadowed corner he hadn't seen, a head quietly slipped out from behind the door, eyes flashing with menace. On this side, Nai Cam cried out and then fell backward, feigning faint. Chao Xiaoliang panicked and caught her, worriedly asking, "Nai Cam, are you okay?" She weakly answered, "Brother Liang, I'm so hungry. I've been trapped here for 5 days with nothing to eat." He snapped his fingers and smiled. "So it's hunger, easy to fix." He ran back to the cart and said, "Wait a bit. I'll make you something to eat." He sat down and rummaged through the goods in the cart, humming happily. "What should I make? How about noodles? Steamed buns, chicken wings, Coca-Cola would be good too." Nai Kim watched his naive behavior coldly, but her mind was on food. She stood up and moved closer to the cart, and saw eggs, oil, and other items scarce in the chaos. She was secretly amazed. Where did this guy find so much food? A dangerous smile spread across her lips. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be a fat sheep. This time the harvest would be big. Nai Kim reached for an egg, but the moment she grabbed it, the egg vanished. She tried several times with the same result. It was the system's rule. Ingredients in the snack cart couldn't be stolen and would automatically return to their original place without the shopkeeper's permission. Nai Cam, unaware of this, began to doubt. What's going on? Am I hallucinating? But she didn't dwell on it and decided to change tactics. Never mind that. Deal with this guy first. Everything in this cart will be mine. She reached behind her, intending to grab the knife she had hidden, but couldn't find it. She panicked. Where did it go? Chao Xiaoliang suddenly spoke. Are you looking for this? Nai Cam froze when she saw her knife in his hand. That's mine. How did it end up with you? He recalled that when she pretended to faint, he had quickly taken the knife from her back. He grinned slyly. Of course you need a knife to cook. The little stall just opened and lacks proper tools. I'll borrow it for a bit. You don't mind, do you? Nai Cam forced a smile. Of course not. But inside she was fearful. How did he know she had a weapon? Had he been watching for her all along? Seeing the situation turn against her, she hurried to explain. Brother Liang, don't misunderstand. You know how hard it is for a girl to survive in the apocalypse. This knife is for self-defense. Chao Xiaoliang replied casually. How could I misunderstand? Of course I trust you. Nai Kem timidly asked. So when you're done, could you return the knife to me? He nodded. Of course. He handed the knife toward her, reminding. But this blade is very sharp. I'd advise you not to use it. Nai Kem gripped the knife, an evil smile contrasting her gentle voice. Is that so? With that, she sprang up, no longer appearing weak, and lunged to stab him with the knife, shouting, Stupid man. So easy to trick. You deserve to die. But before the blade touched him, the defensive shield popped up, flinging Nai Kem away. She screamed in pain. Chao Xiaoliang scratched his ear and sighed. I told you not to use it recklessly. Why wouldn't you listen? Nai Kem fell to the ground and stared at him, eyes wide. Are you a superpowered user? Undeterred, she grew more aggressive. You brat. You tricked me. I have to fight you. She leaped up, kicking up a cloud of dust, sparks flashing at her feet. Chao Xiaoliang remained unfazed and calmly pulled out the defensive spray and sprayed it at Nai Kem. Caught off guard, she was hit and squeezed her eyes shut, crying, It's so burning. Nai Kem writhed on the ground, clutching her swollen eyes and wailing, My eyes! Chao Xiaoliang laughed triumphantly, holding up a jar of mustard. Why didn't you say you can't handle spicy? I'll definitely note the customer's taste. He continued sprinkling mustard on Nai Kem's face, saying, Do you like grilled food? How about a little mustard? Nai Kem begged in pain. Stop. Please stop. Chao Xiaoliang called out loudly toward the door. Anyone inside? If you don't come out, your friends are going to be pickled. The door remained tightly shut, then cracked open a little before suddenly swinging wide. 2 children, a boy and a girl, rushed out carrying wooden sticks and shouted in unison, Let the boss out! Chao Xiaoliang was slightly taken aback by the scene. The boy shouted proudly, Boss, don't be afraid. We're here to save you. The girl, eyes brimming with tears, still bravely yelled, Don't let the boss get hurt. Chao Xiaoliang only needed a little strength to subdue both of them. He scolded sternly, You're too young to skip school and form gangs to harm others. The 2 children screamed in unison, Let us go! Nai Kem forced herself up and shouted, Don't hurt them. If you have the guts, aim at me. Chao Xiaoliang replied coldly, You said it. He threw the 2 kids toward her, and all 3 tumbled to the ground. He entered the hidden room and saw food and drinks piled everywhere. He listed off, All right, instant noodles, biscuits, canned goods. He stroked his chin and smiled at the 3 conspirators tied in the corner. Looks like quite a few people were duped before me. Seeing him calm, Nai Kem asked, I've never made a mistake during this time. How did you find out? Chao Xiaoliang answered. Then it just means those people before were really stupid. He explained, You said you'd been trapped here nearly 5 days without eating, but there's still soup left in the can. Clearly it was opened recently. Besides, there's fresh blood on the floor over there. Yet you have no wounds on your body. He concluded, So there's only one possibility. Someone else here was injured or has died. After analyzing, he muttered under his breath, barely audible, That was dangerous. I'd almost become one of them. The boy angrily said, Serves them right. If they hadn't tried to take advantage of others, they wouldn't have been tricked. The girl chimed in, Exactly, we never deceive good people. Those duped are all bad like you. Being labeled a villain, Chao Xiaoliang was stunned and thought to himself, How am I the bad guy? Nai Kem said, In this chaotic world, everyone just wants to survive. You can't blame me. Chao Xiaoliang nodded. Yeah, there's some truth to that. But then he switched tone, grinning fiercely. So now you're in my hands. Whatever I decide to do, you can't blame me. Nai Kem went pale. What do you want to do? Chao Xiaoliang stared at the 3 and smiled. I haven't had fresh meat in a long time. Looks like today's a feast. The 2 kids panicked and screamed. He eats people. No, I don't want to be eaten. Despite his fierce appearance, Chow Xiaoyang was secretly pleased. The kids dared to question him and were now scared. Nai Cam stood between the two children and begged, "If you want to eat me. They're still kids. Please let them go." The girl sobbed, "No, don't eat the boss." The boy resolutely said, "Adult meat isn't tasty. I'm a kid. My meat is tender. Eat me instead." Chow Xiaoyang had only meant to scare them, but things turned out like this. He wondered inwardly why these three con artists were so close they made him look like the villain. Suddenly, the girl began to cough violently. The boy cried out anxiously, "Sister," Nai Cam said, "Xiao Ling is hurt. If she's tied like this, she won't be able to breathe." Chow Xiaoyang told himself to stay sharp and not be fooled. Were they trying to get him to loosen the ropes and then stab him? Xiao Ling continued coughing without stop. Seeing this, he wavered slightly but kept his composure. "That girl's acting is even better than yours." The boy shouted, "We didn't lie to you. The boss spoke the truth. If this continues, she'll die." Seeing their urgency, he didn't untie them immediately but whispered, "System, run a check." The system emitted a beam of light surrounding the girl to run a scan, then announced she had a severe internal infection that had become pus-filled and gangrenous. Without timely treatment, she had only 3 days to live. While both sides were still discussing, Xiao Ling suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Chow Xiaoyang was startled and hurriedly used his knife to cut the ropes. The ropes sprang loose and the girl collapsed forward. Nai Cam and the boy called out together, "Xiao Ling!" After removing her outer shirt, he discovered blood spreading across the bandage over her chest. Seeing this, Chow Xiaoyang angrily scolded, "This is a gunshot wound. Who would be so heartless to do this to a child?" Nai Cam retorted angrily, "The Jinglei Legion." She lowered her eyes and, voice sad, recounted, "Their mother was a regular at my shop. When the world erupted into chaos, they were buying bubble tea at the store. I've watched a lot of end-of-the-world films, so when I saw people on the street tearing each other apart, I knew things were bad and immediately closed the shop. Soon after, news reported a zombie virus outbreak and urged people to stay indoors, so the customers stayed. At first, everyone banded together, encouraging each other to wait for rescue. But over time, food ran out and people's true natures emerged. A man didn't hesitate to snatch a loaf of bread from the children's mother's hands. The mother helplessly said, "Who are you? Your share was already taken, that's ours." He sneered, "They're so small. How can they get the same portion as adults? 3 people sharing 1 portion is enough." The mother tried to explain, "My daughter is sick. She can't go without food. Please return it to me." The man looked down at the girl and said coldly, "Looking at her condition, she won't live 2 days. Feeding her is a waste. Better give it to others." The boy jumped up and bit the man's hand hard. "That's my sister's." The man flew into a rage, grabbed the boy up and shouted, "You brat! How dare you bite me? I'll throw you to your death. Saves food." The mother panicked and rushed forward, screaming, "Xiao Lu!" Nai Cam couldn't stand it. She stepped out and gently tripped the man. He wasn't expecting it and tumbled to the ground. Nai Cam caught Xiao Lu and snapped, "Food is limited. On what grounds do you steal from others?" The man cursed furiously. "You call that food? A tiny piece of bread. Who could that feed? Do you want us to starve?" Nai Cam was speechless at that logic and coldly replied, "Do I owe you? If you want food, there's plenty outside. Go find it yourself." She looked at him as if at a coward who wouldn't face zombies and only bullied women and children. The man angrily barked, "Bastard! How dare you talk to me like that?" A middle-aged woman in the shop intervened. "Miss, there are many people like this. This little food really isn't enough. Could you share more?" Another customer added, "Yes, when the chaos ends we'll repay you double." Nai Cam explained, "This is a bubble tea shop, not a supermarket. There's only this much food total. I already took it all out." A young woman pointed toward the room and demanded, "You've really taken everything? Then why is that room locked so tight? What's inside?" Nai Cam answered calmly, "That's where I change. There's nothing inside." The other wouldn't relent. "I don't believe you, unless you open the door for us to see." Nai Cam frowned. not understanding why they were pressing so hard, but she alone couldn't stand against the hungry crowd. People screamed, "She won't prove it. There must be food inside. Letting everyone starve while she eats alone. How selfish can she be?" Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling's mother stepped forward to intervene. "Everyone, don't be like this. If she hadn't kindly taken us in, we wouldn't have survived until now. You can't be so heartless." But when hunger overpowered reason, these words had no effect. Someone shouted, "If she hadn't meddled, I'd have gone home long ago." Another added, "Right? If we'd left earlier, we might have met rescuers and been taken to a safe military zone." Naikam smiled bitterly. "Ungrateful lot. If you want to leave, it's not too late." The aggressive man barked, "You bastard. Acting like you're above us, huh?" The crowd surged forward to restrain Naikam, shouting, "Ignore her. Bust the door down." The man didn't wait and stepped up to smash the door. "If I find food in there, just watch how I deal with her." After several strong rams, the door burst open. Inside were nothing but women's dresses. The man blinked in surprise and blurted, "Clothes of all things." He stepped inside, looked around, and muttered, "Isn't this a bubble tea shop? Why are there so many dresses?" A middle-aged woman sneered, "I've long thought she wasn't a proper woman." A young woman chimed in, "A decent girl wouldn't dress like that. She's clearly trying to seduce men." Naikam shouted angrily, "Don't be outrageous." Suddenly, a thunderous explosion rang out from outside. An off-road vehicle smashed through the main door and barreled into the shop. The front of the vehicle bore an emblem of a gear and a lightning bolt. A man stepped out, laughing loudly. "People here." Everyone in the shop immediately went on guard. "Who are you?" The man's menacing appearance made it clear he was there to rob. "Sure enough," he declared, "we are the Jinglei Legion. Whoever doesn't want to die, hand over all your food." The man who had argued with Naikam earlier now trembled and pleaded, "Please don't hit me. I was just passing by." He pointed at Naikam. "All the resources are with that woman. She's the owner here." Members of the Jinglei Legion grinned lecherously. "Women, huh? Not just one. Haven't seen a woman this pretty in a long time. Today the boys get to eat." Naikam only had time to shout, "Run!" before grabbing the two children and turning to flee. Elsewhere, two robbers had already pinned down a young couple. The man cried, "I'll give her to you. Don't kill me, spare me." The woman screamed in terror, "No! Help me!" A blond man chased close behind Naikam and grabbed her shoulder. "Kid, don't run. I'll send you to Cloud 9. Naikam twisted her wrist, and a dagger appeared. She slashed the dagger toward the man, barking, "In your dreams!" The blond man, taken aback, snarled, "Bastard!" Hiding a knife, he pulled out a gun and squeezed the trigger. "Die!" The bullet was aimed at Naikam, but Xiao Ling suddenly lunged out to shield her. The bullet ripped through the girl's shoulder. The sight made Naikam, Xiao Lu, and the children's mother horrified, and they cried in unison, "Xiao Ling!" The gang leader barked, "Idiot! Who told you to fire? Don't you know it'll attract zombies?" He turned and shot the young woman who had confronted Naikam inside the shop in the head. Seeing the situation turn against them, he stopped caring about the women and just wanted to loot supplies and leave. He ordered, "Take everything, leave nothing. Anyone who tries to run gets shot." Anyone who tried to run was cut down by a bullet. In the end, only Naikam, Xiao Lu, and Xiao Ling were driven into a corner against the wall with no escape. The children's mother suddenly lunged forward, grabbing the man's waist to hold him back and shouted, "Run!"
Xiao le screamed in terror, "Mom!"
The thug slammed his hand hard into her head. "Goddamn woman, let go!" But she didn't let go, not even a little. "Don't worry about me. If you don't, everyone will die." The weak mother spoke her last wishes, begging Naikam to take care of Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling. Naikam swallowed her tears and held the dazed Xiao Lu, gritted her teeth and jumped out the window to escape. When she saw the three run out of the shop, the mother pulled the pin from the grenade at the man's thigh. The explosion blew the bubble tea shop to ashes. Back in the present, Naikam sat dazed on the ground and said, "I promised Sister Li I'd protect them so they'd survive. This was the only way I could." She couldn't hold it back and sobbed, Sorry, I'm useless. Xiao Ling woke, reached out to wipe her tears, and obediently said, Boss, don't cry. Xiao Ling doesn't hurt. If Xiao Ling dies, will she get to see her mother? Nai Cam hurriedly comforted her. Xiao Ling, you won't die. Xiao Lu panicked. I've already lost our mother. Little sister, don't leave me. The system, moved by the story, said, They're so pitiful. Chao Xiaoyang shot at a glance. Now they're pitiful, but earlier they killed me without hesitation. He thought to himself that in this chaotic world, carrying 2 children wasn't just a burden but invited trouble and increased the risk of death. That she had held on this long still showed some conscience. He turned to the system and asked, Little two, don't you have medicine in your space? Is there anything that can cure this child? The system replied, There is, but you have to unlock a higher tier space to use it. Your privileges aren't sufficient. He sneered. You just said they're pitiful. Now you see someone dying and won't help. You're a system that can't be flexible. The system, seeing through him, replied coldly. You're trying to trick me into unlocking privileges, aren't you? Chao Xiaoyang frowned, thinking to himself that being spotted so easily meant the system was fairly clever. Although the system couldn't open the privileges for him, it offered another solution. Not flexible but not without options. The snack stall's second function, food made by the owner, has healing effects. Chao Xiaoyang cheered. Why didn't you say so earlier? Does this precious item have any other surprises I don't know about? The system calmly replied, Effectiveness depends on level. The higher the level, the better. At your current level, you can only rely on luck. Chao Xiaoyang rolled up his sleeves and decided, Well, we have to try. He looked at the eggs, flour, and oil on the table and wondered what he could make with just these ingredients. An idea popped into his head and he exclaimed, Got it! He cracked eggs into a bowl, kneaded the dough and seasoned it, then began cooking it in the pan. The aroma spread, making Nai Cam's group curious. Xiaolu wiped his mouth and praised, Smells great. A while later, Chao Xiaoyang held up the freshly made cake and said, Done. Nai Cam asked warily, What are you trying to do? He smiled. Don't worry, it's not poison. He offered the cake to Xiao Ling. This is the egg cake I loved as a child. Xiao Ling, try it. The little girl took the cake and smiled brightly. Thank you. She bit a piece, chewing and praising. Smells good, sweet, delicious. Suddenly, Xiao Ling's eyes widened and she sprang to her feet. Nai Cam panicked. Xiao Ling, you can't stand up yet. The girl blinked in confusion. I don't seem to hurt at all anymore. Nai Cam couldn't believe it and felt the girl's forehead. Really? The fever was gone, and even the wound had begun to heal. Xiao Lu excitedly. So my sister won't die? That's amazing. Nai Cam noticed something odd, looked at the egg cake and asked, What did you put in the cake? There's no medicine that brings down a fever that fast. Is this some special ability of yours? Chao Xiaoyang replied, Of course I can't tell you that. But Xiao Ling has only had initial improvement. To fully recover, she needs to eat the egg cakes I make for a while. He grinned slyly. Consider this a sample. Next time you'll have to pay. Nai Cam pointed to the pile of food on the floor. No problem. Just cure Xiao Ling and all this is yours.
Xiao le nodded, même.
Chao Xiaoyang waved his hand to refuse. I have enough food already. I don't need those. He pointed at Nai Cam. I need you, Xiaola shouted. Bastard. You clearly don't have good intentions toward the boss. Xiao Ling also said, Don't stop treating me. Don't hurt the boss. Chao Xiaoyang sighed in exasperation. What are these kids thinking all day? Don't they have anything else in their heads? He turned to explain, I want you to work for me, as staff at the snack stall. Employee benefits include board and lodging taken care of by me. Nai Cam didn't answer immediately and discussed it with the 2 children. Xiao Lu said, We don't know what powers this person has, but he looks quite strong. Nai Cam added, Also, following him means free food. No need to worry about supplies. Xiao Ling nodded. I think that's fine. After a moment, the 3 agreed. Okay, we'll go with you. But you must take Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling with you. Chao Xiaoyang looked at them, briefly regretting it. Why did he feel he just made a mistake? Cam took out a contract and grinned craftily. Even though the world is in chaos, working conditions must be clear. Everything will be by contract. Chow Xiaoliang skimmed it and broke into a sweat. It stated work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 types of insurance, a pension fund, 2 shifts, holidays, overtime pay, attendance bonuses, and even a 13th month salary. He angrily shouted that she could have just said paid leave. Cam ignored the tease and even demanded separate benefits for child labor. Suddenly a voice rang from outside the door. The scent is coming from here. A metal axe smashed into the glass door, shattering it. 4 burly men stepped in. The tallest one spoke. Indeed, there are people here. Dai Zhang stepped in and immediately zeroed in on the egg cake in Xiao Ling's hand. Yelling with satisfaction, "I told you my nose is sharp." Xiao Lu stood in front of the girl and shouted that this cake belongs to my sister. Chow Xiaoliang stepped forward to confront Dai Zhang. The man placed his hand on the weapon at his back threateningly, as if asking to fight. Contrary to his expectation, Chow Xiaoliang rubbed his hands and smiled warmly. "Brothers, kids don't get it. I'm the snack stall owner. Tell me what you want to eat and I'll make something new." Dai Zhang turned to the man behind him and said, "Boss, I want to eat." The boss named Lei Hong fell silent to ponder, then stepped forward and asked how much the rookie egg cake sells for. Chow Xiaoliang quickly thought that these people didn't look ordinary. Surely they had many cores. Taking this chance to complete the task, he smiled and handed over the menu. "Here's the menu. Please take a look." Lei Hong read it and was startled. "What, one piece of rookie egg cake costs as much as 10 cores? Chow Xiaoliang answered that the apocalypse is harsh, rice and noodles are bought with lives now. This price is already very reasonable. Lei Hong nodded in agreement. Makes sense. He generously said, "Give me a few." Chow Xiaoliang cheerfully replied, "Coming right up." Dai Zhang threatened, "If it's not good I'll smash both you and the cart." Chow Xiaoliang sneered under his breath that whether it's good or not isn't for him to decide. Lei Hong narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean? Are you saying we'll eat and run?" Just then Cam stepped forward, took Lei Hong's arm and coquettishly said, "Our boss can be blunt. Please don't be mad at him, okay?" Seeing the beauty make the first move, Lei Hong's face flushed. Cam, seeing that the trick worked, kept chatting. "Hey, your chest is so big you must be great at fighting zombies." Lei Hong was flustered and stammered. Of course he was embarrassed. His 3 underlings watched and mocked that their boss had relapsed into his old habit. Whenever he saw a beauty he went dumb and even started stuttering. Cam pulled Lei Hong along. "So many egg cakes will take a while to make. Don't rush. Come in and wait." Lei Hong replied stiffly like a robot, "Okay, okay." As they passed Chow Xiaoliang, she winked at him. He admired silently. The proprietress is truly top tier. Hiring her as staff was definitely the right choice. Chow Xiaoliang went behind the counter, fired up the stove and began to cook. Lei Hong's 3 underlings sat nearby, drooling as they watched. After a moment, the egg cakes came out of the oven, fragrant. Everyone picked one up and took a bite. Chow Xiaoliang and Cam held their breath, waiting for the reaction. Sure enough, Lei Hong exclaimed, "This is delicious." Dai Zhang was amazed. "This tastes like childhood." The blue-haired girl was moved, truly nostalgic. The other one sighed that my tablemate Xiao Fong loves this dish the most. Lei Hong tossed him a large bag of cores as promised. He praised the owner, "Your skills are pretty good." Chow Xiaoliang happily accepted it. "Too kind." Lei Hong asked further, "I see many items on your menu. Aside from rookie egg cakes, what else do you have?" He replied, "Many things," then listed fried chicken, meat skewers, numbing spicy soup, grilled squid skewers, sausages, fried cakes, youtiao, tofu, dipping sauces, cola, beer, salted plum juice, and also, Lei Hong cut him off. "Don't say more, 10 portions of each." Chow Xiaoliang was embarrassed. "But I only have flour, noodles, and eggs on hand. Making those dishes requires many ingredients, which are hard to find in these times." Lei Hong was confident. "That's simple. Just tell me what you need and there's nothing I can't get." Chow Xiaoliang frowned, thinking their boast was bold. Cam leaned in and whispered that these people looked like apocalypse traders. If they supplied ingredients, we wouldn't have to risk going out to find them later. He nodded, "That's true." After discussing, Chow Xiaoliang smiled friendly. "Boss, what's your price for sourcing ingredients?" Could we have a long-term cooperation? Nikam added coaxingly. Hey, get it cheap for us, and at worst you can come to the shop later and not pay. Lei Hong and Dai Zhang looked at each other, surprised by the way she addressed them as boss. The underlings laughed dryly. Right, our big brother is the boss, but he's running a no-capital business. Chao Xiaoyang and Nai Cam's faces darkened when they heard that. Lei Hong suddenly remembered something and turned to Dai Zhang. Why have Ahu's guys been gone so long? Dai Zhang replied they had sent people to look. He left marks along the way and they'll find their way back. Outside, an off-road vehicle rolled closer. A panting man ran in to report to the boss. Bad news. He said Ahu's crew had been wounded. Everyone turned serious and looked toward the door as four ragged, battered men helped each other in. Chao Xiaoyang recognized them immediately and felt a bad premonition. Finally those brats had dragged their bodies back. Lei Hong was stunned at the pitiful sight of Ahu and his men. One nearly lame, another with arms bandaged, clothes filthy and reeking. He urgently asked who had beaten them like this. Ahu looked at the boss like he was seeing a savior, eyes watering. Boss, the little fox got his tail smashed off. Another man painfully raised his arm and described the kid running the food stall, claiming the boy said he was some kind of chosen one. Lei Hong shouted angrily that was nonsense. This isn't a novel. There's no such thing as the chosen in this world. Dai Zhang fired up, slapped his palm and said, right. If there is one, Big Brother should try fighting him to see. The underlings sighed, pointing to their own battered bodies, angrily saying they didn't believe it at first either. But that kid was strange. Every attack we launched was reflected back and we got internal injuries like this. Lei Hong looked at Dai Zhang, wondering attacks being reflected. Could the kid be an ability user? Dai Zhang thought it over and shook his head. He'd never heard of such an ability. Nai Cam, having witnessed Chao Xiaoyang's display, was stunned and thought to herself that it truly was a strange power. She suddenly recalled the force from his cloth, the sonic-like power that nearly sent her flying. After hearing the Kin Loi Legion guys talk, Nai Cam secretly watched Chao Xiaoyang and nervously glanced at Lei Hong, thinking could they be discovered now that the Kin Loi crew had come here. Chao Xiaoyang stealthily took light steps, planning to slip away, muttering slip away, slip away. Nai Cam suddenly pointed at him and shouted, You, traitor, you mean? Lei Hong trembled with anger, eyes bloodshot, a blaze of fury rising. He roared that no matter the kid's background, anyone who harms Lei Hong's people must die. Nai Cam froze as if struck by lightning. Chao Xiaoyang stood motionless, too scared to move. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu had tears in their eyes and said they'd also heard the name, Lei Hong. Nai Cam stepped forward and asked bluntly, Are you Lei Hong, the boss of the Kin Loi Legion? Dai Zhang answered on his behalf, That's right, and the beaten underling looked at her smugly. So we're that famous? Lei Hong blushed, forgetting duty at the sight of a beautiful woman, laughing loudly and saying he'll overlook it this time. Miss, if you have trouble later, come to me. Before he finished, Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu lunged forward with fists raised to hit him. Xiao Ling shouted that he was the leader of those people. Xiao Lu added, You bastard, your men injured my sister and my mother. Lei Hong grabbed each child by an arm and lifted them up as they struggled, asking in surprise what the kids were crazy about and who had killed their mother. Dai Zhang and the blonde man were also bewildered. Dai Zhang patted their heads and said it was a misunderstanding. Though we're bandits, we've never touched children or women. The blonde nodded in agreement. A minute later, Nai Cam erupted with spiritual energy and charged forward, delivering a kick toward Lei Hong, her voice cold. I have a demon now. Release them at once. Lei Hong dodged by leaning aside and flung Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu to the side. The two kids landed safely, though Xiao Lu nearly couldn't bear it when Xiao Ling sat on him. Lei Hong and Nai Cam fought fiercely. Her flurries of kicks skimmed past, but Lei Hong merely dodged, moving nimbly. Nai Cam grew angrier, channeling all her spiritual energy into an attack. The underlings watched and cheered enthusiastically. The blonde nodded, This woman really has talent. Dai Zhang laughed loudly. There's a good show to watch, but he worried their boss might be reluctant to strike a woman. He didn't know what to do. The whole group shouted, Boss, go for it. Lei Hong's face flushed. He muttered that this weakness was just being chicken around women. He only blocked Nai Cam's blows, and seeing his underlings just spectating made him angry. Aren't these kids going to help when their boss is being pressured? The blue-haired girl cheerfully said to the boss, "This is psychological. You need to overcome it yourself." Lei Hong and Nai Kam continued to chase and dodge, wearing themselves down. The noise of the fight attracted a mysterious creature on the roof hole. Its gigantic tentacles covered the hole, goo dripping onto the floor. Chao Xiaoyang watched, pleased. Enemies clashing was a familiar sight, but he suddenly jolted and swore under his breath. He counted on his fingers. Today there was only one chance left. Panicked, he dashed to the cart, intending to sneak it away back to the safe base. Ehu spotted him and shouted to the bald guy that it was him, the one who was chosen by heaven. Lei Hong pointed toward his underlings. "It's him." He grabbed Nai Kam's leg and flung her away mercilessly. She fell and cried out in pain. Dai Zhang stepped forward and seized both of Nai Kam's wrists. She struggled, but he held tight, tiredly saying, "Behave yourself. Today will be your end." Lei Hong blocked Chao Xiaoyang's path, twisted his arm with a crack, voice bitter. "You beat my men and stole my cores. It's been a long time since anyone toyed with me like this. Today you're finished." Chao Xiaoyang played dumb, propping his chin and smiling. "Big brother, it's just a misunderstanding." The confident smile made Ehu and the bald guy jump. In anger they said, "Big brother, don't listen to him. This kid is best at acting harmless. Because we were careless we ended up like this." Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu ran up to fiercely defend him, both shouting that "Big brother, he's not harmless. He's formidable." Xiao Ling added that compared to your boss, he's 100 times more dangerous. Nai Kam interjected from afar. "Our boss is the real man, unlike some people who act strong outside but are too weak inside to even strike a woman." Lei Hong's head felt like it was going to explode hearing everyone argue about him. He thought there was no saving it now. Chao Xiaoyang, exasperated, pulled his ear and barked at them to stop talking already. Lei Hong erupted with demonic aura, clenched his fist, and charged forward. "Stop the nonsense. Let's see what you can do." Power surged out. He slammed his fist into the floor. In an instant the surface shattered and cracked. Chao Xiaoyang, frightened, sank to his knees and backed away. From the fissures, energy billowed up with roaring flames, scorching the area. True to his name, Lei Hong exuded an oppressive firestorm aura. In the black smoke his tall silhouette blocked a corner. Each breath sounded like burning, making the flames ahead flare higher. No one dared approach, not even his underlings. After a while, as Lei Hong's anger subsided, the flames gradually died down. Nai Kam stood aghast, too stunned to move, mouth agape. Such a hard concrete floor shattered by a single punch. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu cowered together in fear, whispering that he was terrifying. Was he a monster? Dai Zhang laughed smugly. "Ability users are already like monsters, and our boss is the best of them." Who boasted. "Now do you know who you messed with?" Chao Xiaoyang quietly watched Lei Hong, amazed by the recent move. Is this the power of an ability user? If that punch landed, even a glancing blow would shatter bones. Before he could regain composure, Lei Hong lunged with a punch hard as steel. Chao Xiaoyang nimbly dodged in time. Lei Hong sneered. "What are you staring for now? Weren't you proud a moment ago? Show your skill, you coward who only hides." He angrily summoned spiritual energy, intending to finish him with one blow. Who's the weak one now? Lei Hong unleashed a barrage of punches at Chao Xiaoyang. Helpless, Chao used both hands to block the fiery blows. The overwhelming force made him tremble. Shockwaves resounded with each strike. Chao Xiaoyang spat blood. He kept his life but suffered severe internal injuries. Lei Hong watched in surprise. "This kid took many of my hits and didn't turn to pulp. He's stronger than ordinary people." That only made him more determined to defeat him. He threw a few more punches, mocking that the boy was still far from being his match. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu cowered in a corner, terrified. Xiao Ling cried, clutching her brother's shirt. "Big brother can't take much more." Xiao Lu mournfully asked, "Will we never get egg cakes again?" Nai Kam stood still, face dark, thinking that if he died the goods on the cart would all belong to them. Angry, Chao Xiaoyang dodged Lei Hong's iron-like punch. He hadn't planned to fight back, but his opponent's madness enraged him. He shouted that they were the real scum. Lei Hong laughed loudly, ignoring him. "Chosen by heaven? What a lunatic who reads too many novels. An iron-hard punch slammed into Chao Xiaoyang, pinning him painfully against the wall. He grimaced, struggling to open his eyes to look at Lei Hong, the wound on his belly bleeding through his shirt, the pain making him buckle. He raised a hand to cover the wound and slowly stood up, clothes torn to reveal many injuries. Walking with difficulty, he thought fleeing wasn't the answer. Facing that body head-on, even boosting his strength wouldn't cause damage. There was no chance to win. Suddenly he looked toward the vendor cart and felt relieved. If he could borrow that thing, the stronger the attack, the greater the reflected force. Chao Xiaoyang immediately dashed for the vendor cart, ignoring Lei Hong's surprise, thinking the opportunity only came once. Lei Hong, triumphant, muttered that he finally won't run. Now that's manly. Go die. He launched a flurry of punches, but didn't expect Chao Xiaoyang had no intention of fighting. He suddenly bent low, slipped under Lei Hong's legs, shouted enough, and boldly yanked Lei Hong's pants down to his ankles. Lei Hong froze, the strange cold feeling below leaving him disoriented. Lei Hong was exposed. Nai Cam stood dumbfounded, eyes wide and unblinking. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu were also stunned, legs trembling. Lei Hong's underlings stifled laughs at their boss being publicly humiliated. Ahu and Dai Zhang turned away, while the blonde and the blue-haired girl laughed loudly. What an embarrassment. Chao Xiaoyang excitedly shouted that it worked. Lei Hong's eyes reddened, murderous intent blazing as he roared in fury, then charged at him, vowing he'd definitely kill the boy. Xiao Lu, spotting the dagger at Dai Zhang's side, seized by an impulse, lunged and struck at his groin. Dai Zhang pushed Nai Cam away in pain and screamed. Xiao Lu nimbly snatched the dagger, ran up to Lei Hong and shouted, "Wicked leader, I want you to avenge my mother." Nai Cam and Xiao Ling were panicked at the sight. Xiao Ling worried, "Oh my god, Xiao Lu has gone mad." Dai Zhang immediately raised his gun and fired at Xiao Lu. Careful, boss. Both sides acted at once. Chao Xiaoyang angrily glared at Dai Zhang's action. "Bastard, you still dare to claim you don't hit women and children?" He mustered his strength and shoved the vendor cart toward Xiao Lu. Just as the bullet was a few steps away from him, the cart barreled forward and blocked it, protecting him. The bullet struck the cart with a screeching scrape. Xiao Lu screamed in fear, but the one truly in danger was Chao Xiaoyang. Lei Hong surged forward in blazing fire, lava-like flames rolling, screaming, "Go die." Chao Xiaoyang lay there, cursing his fate. He'd barely gotten a chance to be the main character, and now it seemed over. He thought bitterly of Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu. Indeed, the troublemaking kids were the worst. He closed his eyes to brace for the hit, but when the fiery punch reached his face, it suddenly stopped. A loud explosion rang out as the whole house blew up. From the black smoke, Bak Fai Fai appeared. She stepped forward, eyes cold and murderous as she stared at everyone. She charged straight at Ahu and Dai Zhang without a word. Her first target was Lei Hong. Bak Fai Fai launched a kick at him. Lei Hong was both shocked and terrified to see a pale leg pressed up to his face. Her gaze radiated death, as if warning him for attacking Chao Xiaoyang. Lei Yong glanced, his head spinning, embarrassed and blushing while furious. Chao Xiaoyang recognized her and exclaimed in surprise, "It's her." Bak Fai Fai used spirit techniques, kicking Lei Hong through the air. Her movements were swift as a torrent, making him cry out in pain. With just one strike, Bak Fai Fai sent Lei Hong flying into a wall, causing the room to explode again. Black smoke rose and a loud blast echoed. Bak Fai Fai stood there proudly, eyes fixed on the blaze where Lei Hong had been slammed. His underlings sensed the disadvantage. The blue-haired girl hurriedly asked where this person had come from. The man beside her was stunned. "Boss defeated. How could it be?" The blonde recognized Bak Fai Fai and pointed at her, telling his companions, "Isn't she the one we captured? She's a Jiangshi." They immediately formed a combat line. 2 cannons were quickly loaded and aimed at Bak Fai Fai. Gunshots rang out loudly. The blonde ordered his men to prepare for battle. "Careful not to let her bite you." Hundreds of bullets rained toward Bak Fai Fai like a mad storm. But with agile footwork, she glided lightly, dodging every shot without a single hit. The blonde began to panic, dropping his weapon and exclaiming in disbelief at her speed. This isn't an ordinary Jiangshi but a mutated type. Bok Fai jumped onto the roof of Chao Xiaoyang's vendor cart. Dai Zhang immediately rushed over, raising a sharp iron saber to confront her directly. Chao Xiaoyang watched this heartbreakingly, not out of concern for Bok Fai, but for the fate of his vendor cart. He shouted that if they were going to fight, not to wreck his stall. He threw all his strength into pushing the cart away. Thanks to that, Bok Fai easily dodged Dai Zhang's slash. Another man took advantage of the chaos to sneakily bring up a sniper rifle, aimed carefully at Bok Fai and shouted for everyone to get back. This female monster, take one for me. Chao Xiaoyang ran over from a distance, desperately trying to stop him. Don't. The gunshot tore at his heart. The bullet flew toward Bok Fai, who sat nonchalantly on the cart's roof. She eyed the bullet as if it were a toy. Suddenly she leapt up to avoid the trajectory. At first it looked like the bullet would hit Chao Xiaoyang's cart and destroy everything. But Bok Fai still had a shred of conscience. She grabbed the cart and pulled it back just as the bullet passed, saving it from the blast. Chao Xiaoyang nearly fainted, signaling praise in delight. Well done. The bullet struck the wall and detonated violently. Lei Hong rose from the rubble, body aching, swearing like hell. Who dared shoot at him from behind? Before he finished, a wooden plank flew from nowhere and slammed into his head. Lei Hong fell in pain, crying out that it was over. The blue-haired girl and the masked man panicked, silently praying as they called for the boss. With a lump on his forehead and no tears to shed, Lei Hong turned to the blonde and barked, "Where were you aiming?" The blonde scratched his head, puzzled, stammering an explanation. Lei Hong sprang up, regained his composure and ordered a full attack. "Damn it, hit them." The bald man quickly reloaded and opened fire at Chao Xiaoyang in bursts. "You're chosen by heaven, huh? I'll shoot you like a sieve." Lei Hong's men fired together. Hundreds of bullets rained down. Bok Fai was forced to find cover. Meanwhile, Nai Cam, Chao Xiaoyang, Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling were terrified out of their wits. The four clung to each other, fleeing in panic amid the chaos. Under the heavy barrage, Chao Xiaoyang still worried about his beloved cart, dragging it along no matter what. He even casually asked if my cart wasn't damaged. Nai Kim ran without looking back, angrily scolding him. What kind of time is this to worry about that beat-up cart? The group was in a dire situation, unsure what to do. Chao Xiaoyang retorted in frustration that of course they'd run when the Jiangshi held them back. They wouldn't stay to die. Though trembling with fear, Xiao Lu still boldly cursed at the raiders. These scumbags should be eaten alive by Jiangshi. Bok Fai suddenly turned to look at Chao Xiaoyang's group fleeing in disarray. She was annoyed, puffing her cheeks in anger, thinking they sure can run fast. Suddenly she gripped the iron bar at her feet, turned it into a deadly weapon, decisively knocking away each incoming bullet. With extraordinary strength, Bok Fai hurled the bar into the air. The iron spiraled like a massive vortex, pierced the rain of bullets, and shot straight toward the enemy ranks. The leader was struck by the bar, pain forcing him to drop his gun. One by one, men were disarmed. Guns flew through the air, firing directions scrambled, turning the bullet storm into utter chaos. Chao Xiaoyang, Nai Cam, Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling could only huddle behind the cart, breathing a sigh of relief. They were finally alive. Dai Zhang and his crew turned and fled, not daring to look back. In this state, they feared a crushing defeat. One panicked man yelled to stop using that busted gun. Dying by a comrade's bullet would be terrible luck. It's not the enemy you fear, it's stupid teammates. After the chaotic volley of gunfire, the gun finally lay still on the floor. The gun's smoke slowly cleared, and Lei Hong's men cautiously lifted their heads to watch the situation. Some hid here, others crouched in corners, adopting all kinds of awkward postures. The blonde cheered gleefully that the shooting had stopped. The blue-haired girl looked around in surprise. Where did she go? Their biggest question now was where the female Jiangshi had gone. On the other side, Chao Xiaoyang, Nai Cam, and the two kids Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling slowly crawled up, secretly watching the situation, especially the enemy. Xiao Lu and Xiao Ling warned there was no movement. The group breathed out in relief, finally able to relax a little. Chao Xiaoyang turned to the others, urging urgently that they run now. But he didn't expect Bok Fi Fi to suddenly appear right in front of them, her hair fluttering in the wind, looking like a hovering ghost. She swung down from the cart's awning and casually threw a punch at Chow Xiaoyang. Saying she meant to scare him, it was just a joke. The four were stunned, thinking Bok Fi Fi intended to eat them. After a moment, they all took off at top speed. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu cried and begged, saying kids can't eat well. Reflexively, Nai Cam gripped the two kids' hands in fear. Not knowing if anyone was really chasing them, they still shouted, "Don't bite me." Chow Xiaoyang led the flight, panicking as he looked back at the three behind him, wondering when they started chasing. In fact, Bok Fi Fi had no intention of eating them. She was a vegetarian Jiangshi. Watching Chow Xiaoyang's group run like the wind, she laughed, finding it rather amusing. But the real danger was only now revealed. A monster stealthily observed their every move, its tentacles clinging together as it slowly maneuvered above. Looking down at the panicked Chow Xiaoyang, Bok Fi Fi suddenly heard a strange sound from the roof. With keen senses, she immediately recognized the lurking danger. Without a word, she dashed like lightning behind Chow Xiaoyang. He was running like mad. Chow Xiaoyang turned his head in horror and cried out, "Oh my God." His legs felt like they'd been fitted with wheels as he kept running, shouting between screams that he had no grudge against her. Why was she only chasing him? At that moment, massive tentacles tore through the ceiling and plunged down. Slime dripped like cobwebs. The monster used its tentacles to attack Chow Xiaoyang. He screamed, "Help me." Bok Fi Fi saw hundreds of tentacles like an octopus and was briefly surprised, but immediately realized the danger. A sound rang out as Bok Fi Fi accelerated, moving faster than the monster. Ignoring the danger, she intercepted it just as the tentacles were about to touch Chow Xiaoyang. The monster was undeterred and swung more huge tentacles, wrapping Bok Fi Fi tightly and pulling her into the air. She writhed in pain but to no avail. Chow Xiaoyang ran over to help but couldn't pull her free from the monster's grasp. In a desperate moment, Bok Fi Fi reached out to him with helpless eyes. Chow Xiaoyang's heart seemed to stop. He stood there terrified, not knowing what would happen next. The giant creature seemed to be toying with them. After a while, it withdrew its tentacles and suddenly dropped Bok Fi Fi in free fall onto the cold tile floor. Slime from the tentacles seeped through holes in the walls, dripping onto the floor and emitting a strong, foul, fishy smell. Finally, the monster fully revealed itself, descending from above like a bird and landing with force. Its bulky body made a heavy thud, nearly crushing Chow Xiaoyang. The giant octopus blocked out the surrounding light, exuding a dense, strange black smoke. Its eyes glowed red like fiery orbs, furious as it stared at Chow Xiaoyang. Lei Hong suddenly lunged out and roared to warn his men that it was a mutated creature. The group immediately took positions, preparing to respond. A row of sniper rifles was fully loaded, ready to fire on Lei Hong's command. As soon as the order was given, shells exploded in succession, aimed straight at the monster. The giant octopus angrily whipped its tentacles, long as iron arms, forming a solid shield. In an instant, it deftly caught hundreds of bullets. Its thick hide swelled like armored plating, stopping every attack. Bok Fi Fi lay motionless in a pool of blood beside the wall, her injuries severe enough to render her unconscious. Chow Xiaoyang and Nai Kim rushed to her side, filled with worry. Bok Fi Fi grimaced and gasped. Blood from her wounds soaked her body, leaving her even more exhausted. Nai Kam stammered to Chow Xiaoyang that she seemed to have been protecting him moments ago. Chow Xiaoyang sat down and gently supported Bok Fi Fi. Seeing the girl brought to this state for defending him made his heart ache with an indescribable pain. Why did this happen? Though weak, Bok Fi Fi still recognized Chow Xiaoyang's voice. She forced her eyes open, bloodied hands trembling as she clutched something and held it out to him. On her small blood-stained hand she held out a candy wrapper, long crumpled. Chow Xiaoyang immediately recognized the familiar wrapper. He fell into a brief reverie as memories flooded back. The moment he first met Bok Fi Fi when he tossed her a candy. Taking the wrapper from her, Chow Xiaoyang asked emotionally if she had come to give this to him. Bok Fi Fi faintly nodded, letting out a few weak sounds. Exhausted, she couldn't speak further. Her eyes slowly closed. Xiao Lu stood beside them, eyes wide in surprise. She understood what we were saying? Chao Xiaoliang immediately contacted the system, urgently asking how this was possible. She's a Jiangshi, so why is she acting like a human? The system quickly analyzed data from Bak Fei's body. A stream of energy ran through her, and continuous analysis signals appeared. The system replied, based on the analysis, the target's body does contain the Jiangshi virus. Research shows some mutated individuals, due to special evolution, can partially recover brain function and display intelligent behavior comparable to smart animals or a child of about 4 years old. Bak Fei moaned in pain, coughing and shedding tears. Nai Kam couldn't hide her pity and worriedly said the girl seemed to be suffering greatly. Xiao Lu innocently asked if Jiangshi can feel pain. Xiao Ling was also puzzled. Didn't she die already? A dozen questions swirled in the children's minds. Xiao Lu rubbed his head in confusion. Aren't Jiangshi only dead if their heads are smashed? Xiao Ling shrank back and protested. She's a good Jiangshi. She didn't bite anyone and even saved her master. I don't want her to die. Nai Kam examined Bak Fei's wounds and shook her head sadly. It looked like her spine was broken. Even as a Jiangshi, if she can't move, it's hopeless. Even as a Jiangshi, if she can't move, it's hopeless. Chao Xiaoliang gripped the candy wrapper tightly, bowed his head in anguish, and shouted that she was in this state because of him. He ran to hold Bak Fei in his arms, wondering how to help her recover. Maybe candy shells could work. The system promptly reminded him this function only works on humans. To heal another creature, the host must complete a task to exchange for a special item. Chao Xiaoliang didn't hesitate and resolutely agreed, asking the system to issue the task. The system immediately responded with a new mission. Within 24 hours, obtain a level 2 core. A determination he'd never shown before flashed in Chao Xiaoliang's eyes. A level 2 core is worth the equivalent of 100 normal crystals and only exists in evolved Jiangshi or mutated creatures. He looked toward the giant octopus behind them and said decisively that, in other words, they just needed to kill that thing. Lei Hong also rushed over quickly to support his men. The group frantically opened fire on the monster. However, with its gigantic size and skin as thick as a fortress wall, the octopus was nearly impervious. Dozens of long tentacles blocked its front, absorbing every shell that flew toward it. Daizhong complained wearily that it was too big. Regular rounds simply couldn't penetrate. The bald man charged forward heroically with the heavy gun, saying, "Let me!" He fired a massive shell that flew like an arrow, aimed straight at the monster's head. The monster seemed to sense the danger and immediately spread a raft of tentacles around its body, forming an almost impregnable fortress. A gap opened, revealing eyes as red as blood, gleaming with cunning. The air grew tense to the point of suffocation. The shell hurtled at the octopus, raising everyone's hopes that it would explode. But no, the dozen tentacles surged like ocean waves and enfolded the shell. The octopus curled up and stood motionless, as if challenging them all. The henchman who'd fired cheered boastfully, confidently declaring that if it didn't blow to pieces this time, he wouldn't consider himself human anymore. Lei Hong stood in support behind them, suddenly feeling uneasy. With his extensive combat experience, he knew things couldn't be that simple. Worry surged as he fretted over the lack of any reaction. The two men in front stared at their weapons in extreme confusion. Could the cannon be out of ammo? Suddenly the octopus stirred. It opened eyes as red as two flames of hell and looked down at the tiny figures below with a smug expression. Tentacles spread out and thick black smoke billowed like ink, shrouding the area. The creature slowly rose, using its tentacles as legs, standing towering like a mobile tower, huge and menacing. As the black smoke cleared, the shell lay snug in its huge mouth. The shell had lost its ability to detonate, clenched like a harmless toy. Daizhong, witnessing the scene, roared in fury to reload. The remaining henchmen stood terrified, stammering. Lei Hong could barely stand, stepping forward slowly with eyes wide and mouth agape, so it could even swallow a shell. The monster, as if taunting them, still held the shell in its mouth. Suddenly, its tentacles lashed out nimbly like giant machines. 1, then 2, then 3 tentacles swept across, flinging everyone aside. Lei Hong's men were scattered like dry leaves before a storm, falling into panic. The monster spat out a large amount of green slime, foul-smelling and hot like lava. More and more of the slime erupted, sticking to anyone it touched like rat glue. The men screamed in agony. The blonde unfortunately got slime on his arm. His flesh immediately burned as if seared, quickly rotting away. The bald man didn't escape either. His back was covered in slime that soaked into his clothes. He yelled loudly that it hurt. Lei Hong looked at his wounded men, fury welling up. He shouted a warning to get back. This liquid is corrosive. Swift as a blade, Lei Hong grabbed a large nearby boulder and propped it up as a shield, temporarily sheltering the group from the creature's assault. The giant rock became their makeshift refuge. Lei Hong held the defense resolutely, waiting for his men to reach cover. After a while, Daizhong and another man hurriedly hid behind the rock. But the monster did not stop and continued to spray toxic fluid toward their hiding place. Using extraordinary strength, Lei Hong lifted the rock on his back and trudged forward step by heavy step. Daizhong cowered, clutching his head and trembling. Suddenly, a giant tentacle swung and struck the rock hard. The creature repeatedly slammed with force, trying to break the defense. Slime flowed through the cracks, and the pressure from it grew increasingly terrifying. A strong, foul stench rose, and the rock began to smoke from being corroded. Daizhong broke out in a cold sweat and panicked, saying the cement is being corroded. We won't hold out long at this rate. Though trembling, Lei Hong stubbornly held the rock, trying to protect his teammates. He roared, angry at the monster and berating his men. "Damn it, you lot! Help me!" The creature's weight exceeded what they could bear. No matter how strong, being overwhelmed was only a matter of time. Lei Hong shook, his hands slowly losing control, his legs weakening, and finally he collapsed under the tremendous pressure. The giant rock couldn't hold and was pierced by the monster's tentacle. A loud bang rang out as the massive tentacle slammed down like a pillar driven into the ground. One henchman was unlucky and got wrapped by a tentacle, hoisted high into the air. The monster tightened its grip on the prey and headed for the hole in the ceiling to deliver the killing blow. The henchman screamed in panic, shouting for Big Brother to save him. Lei Hong couldn't let go of the rock. Full of worry and helplessness, he could only watch. Damn it, there was no other choice. Lei Hong resolved to save his comrade. He summoned all his strength and a fierce surge of force erupted like a wave of fire. With a roar, he exerted his power to lift the colossal rock and hurled it straight at the monster, letting go. The rock hurtled like a meteor. Lei Hong also lunged after it, appearing before the octopus in a flash, ready for a direct confrontation. He breached the defense, grabbed hold of a tentacle, and angrily shouted he'd tear it apart. But even with all his strength, he couldn't scratch the creature's hide. He cursed inwardly. Damn it, the slime is too slippery, you can't get purchase. The octopus, enraged by the provocation, immediately swung a tentacle and flung him far away. Lei Hong roared in pain. Not stopping there, the monster continued to spray toxic fluid from its tentacles like giant nozzles. Lei Hong was nearly exhausted, frozen midair as his protective posture weakened. Then he fell to the ground. At that moment, a familiar figure appeared. Chao Xiaoliang donned his protective suit, covering his whole body, eyes cold as he charged straight at the octopus. While it wasn't paying attention, he ran along a tentacle and approached from behind. Chao Xiaoliang's eyes flashed deep blue. A tremendous power ran through his body. Even as the slime sprayed dozens of times, he nimbly dodged. Lei Hong's henchman slowly rose, eyes wide in astonishment. That's the kid up there. How is he unscathed? Someone asked. Is that a special ability? Lei Hong landed safely and couldn't believe his eyes. Impossible. There were no signs of an ability emanating from him. He suddenly remembered something and shouted. Could he actually be the monster? The monster thought Chao Xiaoliang would be easy prey and kept swinging its massive tentacles to attack. But he fought with empty hands, deftly evading each strike, weaving left and right like a perfect dance. The creature could hardly touch him. Chao Xiaoliang leapt high into the air, targeting the tentacle before him. Using his spiritual force, he moved like lightning and executed an action of vanishing like in an action movie. In a single second, he disappeared without a trace. A cold surge of aura descended. Chao Xiaoyang clenched the dagger Flame of Vengeance and drove it straight into the monster's lower body, aiming for the shell lodged in its mouth. He shouted, "Here it is. Don't care about life or death." Chao Xiaoyang thrust the knife hard into the shell, do or die. Only then did everyone realize Chao Xiaoyang was a man chosen by fate. Under the knife's impact, the shell immediately spat fierce sparks and was successfully detonated. A deafening blast rang out as flames erupted around the creature's body. A cataclysmic explosion tore it apart. The fire grew larger and larger, black smoke blanketing the sky. Pieces of the monster's body rained down everywhere, blood pouring profusely. The remaining carcass of the octopus lay motionless, roasted by the flames like a grill, blood running like a river, the rank stench assaulting the nose. As the black smoke cleared, Chao Xiaoyang removed his protective suit, smiling with satisfaction. "This raincoat works pretty well." He was pleased with the gadget. The blast shock was perfectly insulated. High-tech was indeed powerful. He called the system, "Second Elder, can you give me a few more next time?" The system chuckled at the silly request and replied, "Rewards are randomly drawn, but if the host performs well, your chances will be high." Chao Xiaoyang suddenly remembered the main objective. The monster had been killed, and he immediately began rummaging through the pile of rotten flesh. Beneath the slime, he picked up an object emitting a warm golden glow. "Just what I needed." He cheered. He'd found it. A level 2 core. The system announced, "Congratulations, host. Mission complete. You received a level 2 core. Rewards: an instant healing candy with unlimited uses, plus an apocalypse cookbook." Chao Xiaoyang looked at the book and asked blankly, "What use is a cookbook?" The system explained, "In the apocalypse, many creatures and plants mutate. If you remove the infected parts, they're edible. But ordinary people don't know this and won't dare eat them. This book details their anatomy and cooking methods, indispensable for anyone wanting to run a food stall in the apocalypse." Hearing that, Chao Xiaoyang's annoyance eased. He happily accepted the reward and tucked it away, thinking it was a useful item. But the most important thing was saving people. He hurried to the weak Bok Fi Fi, gently lifted her head, and fed her the candy he'd just received. Bok Fi Fi grimaced, swallowing it with difficulty and discomfort. But only seconds later she suddenly opened her eyes wide and stared at Chao Xiaoyang. Her previously frail body was completely healed. She happily stood up, stretched, and waved her arms and legs confidently. Tu Lin next to her cheered excitedly, "Amazing! She's alive again." Nai Kim watched the scene, uneasy, swallowing hard as she thought to herself that this guy single-handedly handled the mutated octopus. The more she thought, the less she understood. Just moments ago he seemed ordinary, and now he's like a different person. Could he be hiding strength? After dancing around a bit, Bok Fi Fi looked up at Chao Xiaoyang, pointed to her mouth, and made a few cute ah sounds as if expecting something. Seeing Bok Fi Fi's naive gesture, Chao Xiaoyang snapped, annoyed, "Are you even there? Are you that addicted to games?" Tu Lin excitedly ran over, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "What game?" Tu Lin wants to play too. Nai Cam stood watching Chao Xiaoyang, thinking to herself that this guy didn't look trustworthy at all. Chao Xiaoyang had to reenact the old trick. He gripped the bag of candies like before, and while Bok Fi Fi wasn't paying attention, he dashed off and tossed the candies behind him for her to chase and pick up. Tu Lin beamed, clapping and cheering, thrilled as if watching a funny performance. Watching the three of them joke, Nai Cam couldn't help but smile, thinking to herself that this guy's heart isn't so bad after all. Maybe he's trustworthy. Tu Lak stayed wary, sneaking up behind Tu Lin and whispering, "Little sister, stay a bit away from her." He looked at Bok Fi Fi with suspicion. "She's a zombie. Won't she really bite someone?" Bok Fi Fi suddenly turned and stared at the two siblings, her eyes showing affection, especially toward the chubby Tu Lin. She smiled, trying to show she liked the little girl. Tu Lin froze, watching Bok Fi Fi worriedly. Crumbs of candy still stuck to her cheek. Bok Fi Fi excitedly lunged forward and licked the crumbs off Tu Lin's cheek. The girl giggled in delight because it tickled. When she finished, Bok Fi Fi licked her lips and looked at Tu Lak with a hungry expression. scaring him out of his wits. She spread her arms and rushed at him. Tulak went pale, turned and ran, shouting, "You're cruel! You scared the kid half to death. I'm a boy, you know. Aren't you ashamed?" Tulin stood behind, chuckling. Big brother's blushing.
Leon suddenly shouted loudly.
Strode quickly to Chao Xiaoyang with a worried voice. "If you can even heal zombies, you can surely save my men, right?" Chao Xiaoyang looked at Hu Daizhong and the bald-headed man writhing on the ground, clutching an arm soaked in blood from the creature's toxic fluid. Another man had passed out and was unconscious. He examined Hu Daizhong's arm wound, extremely severe, flesh rotting, bone exposed as if eaten by acid. The organs were probably badly affected too. A large hole in Hu Daizhong's arm exposed the bone inside. The infection was dreadful. Lei Hong nodded, urgency in his voice. "I can see that. Treat them quickly." Chao Xiaoyang threw Lei Hong an annoyed glance. "Are you ordering me around?" "Fine." He sprang to his feet, folding his arms in reproach. "You just hurt me. Why should I help you?" Lei Hong cut to the chase, understanding Chao Xiaoyang's meaning, and bluntly offered, "How many cores do you want? Just name a number." At the mention of cores, Chao Xiaoyang's eyes lit up and he immediately changed his tone, grinning slyly. "Then I won't be polite." Suddenly a hand landed on Chao Xiaoyang's shoulder, startling him. Nai Kem coldly shoved him aside. His pathetic screams echoed through the area. She bared her teeth at Lei Hong. "No amount will help. You won't be healing them." Tu Lin and Tu Lak chimed in together. "Right? You're looters, demons, murderers." Lei Hong replied wearily. "I've said it, we're thieves, but we have principles. We don't kill those who can't resist." He narrowed his eyes and shook his head. "If your mother was truly killed by my men, she surely wasn't an innocent woman." Tu Lin and Tu Lak immediately grew angry and retorted, "That's a lie. My mother is a good person. You're the bad ones." Nai Cam took the two kids' hands and scolded Lei Hong. "Don't make excuses. You just want to heal them and then kill us afterward, right? We won't be fooled." Chao Xiaoyang slowly stepped forward, cutting into the argument. "Well, what he said might be true, Nai Cam."
Ngai Kam.
Tu Lin and Tu Lak were stunned and shouted in protest. "What?" After the exhausting chase, Chao Xiaoyang gently produced an old torn red headband and asked Tu Lak, "This fell out of your bag, right?" Tu Lak saw it and immediately shouted excitedly, "Yes, this is the mark of that group. I always carry it to remind myself not to forget what they looked like." He recalled his mother's killer, a middle-aged man blind in one eye, wearing a red headband, who looked somewhat like Lei Hong. Chao Xiaoyang also handed over the dagger he'd picked up. "This dagger is theirs, right?" They compared the evidence. The emblem on the headband and dagger were similar, but mirrored. Nai Kem examined the dagger closely and noticed some differences. Tu Lak, disappointed, said, "This one looks way more stylish." Tu Lin looked at the headband's emblem and judged, "Honestly, this looks like an elementary schooler's drawing." Lei Hong, standing nearby and hearing his group's logo criticized, flushed with anger. "What? Simple debate? This is called a strong, free-spirited style. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense." Chao Xiaoyang sighed and tried to mediate. "I've seen gangs use others' names to rob and stir up hatred before." He looked at Nai Cam. "The group you encountered must be imposters." Nai Cam, Tu Lak and Tu Lin were stunned and echoed, "Imposters." Only then did Lei Hong grasp the full situation. He seemed sympathetic but couldn't hide his resentment. "No wonder some people suddenly attacked us before, as if there was deep hatred. Turns out there was a third party causing trouble." Tu Lak angrily cursed. "Those people are fools, disgusting. So they weren't the Jinglei Legion at all, just con artists." Tu Lin looked up at her brother sadly, voice full of grievance. "So who do we seek revenge on?" The two children were pitiful, their eyes filled with the pain of losing their mother. Nai Kem bent down, looked at the two kids gently, and tried to comfort them to ease some of their pain. "Revenge is not a burden you must carry. More than that, your mother would want you to live healthy and happy." Tu Lak and Tu Lin quietly looked at Nai Cam, their gazes still heavy with sorrow. At that moment, Hu Daizhong, his body wrapped in white bandages, stormed forward angrily and roared. Those bastards dared to sully our name. If I find them, I'll chop them to pieces. Suddenly Hu Daizhong coughed up blood, probably because he moved and irritated his wound in his fury. Lei Hong opened his eyes wide in alarm at his beloved comrade's pain. He hurriedly supported him, then turned to Chao Xiaoyang, pleading, "Now that things are clear, can you heal my men? If we wait much longer they'll die." Chao Xiaoyang nodded, but didn't forget to demand payment. "I can, but 10 cores per person. That's a bargain." Lei Hong immediately agreed and handed over a pouch of cores. "No problem, money talks." Chao Xiaoyang cheerfully ordered, "Please step aside, it'll be done shortly." On his beloved cart, several eggs had been smashed, their bright yolks flowing everywhere. Chao Xiaoyang watched the scene in grief, sorrowful as if a treasure was lost. Such delicious eggs ruined. He recalled the heated clash with the Jinglei Legion and sneaked a glance at Lei Hong, grinning foolishly. "That was just a bit of trouble. Should I return the cores to you?" Lei Hong heard this and turned red with anger, roaring, "Are you kidding me?" Chao Xiaoyang rubbed his head and forced a smile, quickly pushing the cart away. "Of course not. I just wanted to lighten the tense mood with a joke." Swallowing his tears, he thought bitterly that even the eggs were gone. How could he make egg biscuits now? Doing good truly brings its own suffering. Not letting his emotions take over, Chao Xiaoyang took out the cookbook he'd just received and began flipping through the pages. His eyes lit up as if he'd struck gold when he found a suitable recipe. First have fun, then save people. He beamed with satisfaction, closed the book. Perfect. The ingredients on hand were only flour, oil, and a bit of seasoning. After thinking hard for a while, he cried out, "Got it!" He ran to the octopus carcass, chose the best chunk of meat, and carried it off. He carefully cut away the membrane and suction tentacles, keeping the clean meat. Then he seasoned it to remove the fishy smell and rinsed it with water. The pristine white flesh gradually appeared and was chopped into small pieces, mixed with flour into a loose batter. He stirred and stirred and stirred until a fragrant pot of octopus batter was made. He poured the mixture in small portions onto a hot pan, sizzling and smoking, flipped until golden, then added tomato and salad sauce. The octopus pancakes were plated attractively like works of art. For the dish's soul, he substituted finely mashed potato. The hot, delicious octopus pancakes came out of the pan. Chao Xiaoyang proudly said, "Done." He brought the food to Lei Hong's men. "Eat this and your bodies will recover." The bald guy and the blonde screamed in horror. "You used a mutated octopus to make food? What are you doing? Telling us to eat this? You must want us dead faster." But Lei Hong, tempted by the aroma, sniffed eagerly and hesitated. "Can this really be eaten?" Chao Xiaoyang shook his head tiredly and explained, "Read any martial arts novels? Where there's venom, there's always an antidote within 5 steps. I already took the cores, no returns. If you want to eat, eat." Hu Daizhong couldn't stand the pain and stepped forward to smell the aroma. "Smells so good. It hurts. I'll take the risk." He put the food in his mouth, thinking that even if he died he'd enjoy the pleasure first. Suddenly, Hu Daizhong's body froze and began to change. He exclaimed in surprise, "This is," then clutched his stomach and coughed violently. His men panicked and shouted, "Daizhong!" Lei Hong warned Chao Xiaoyang anxiously, "What are you doing? If anything happens to my men, I won't forgive you." Before anyone could act, Bak Fai rushed forward to block Lei Hong. He retreated in fear, stammering, Please don't come over here. It's not good." Hu Daizhong covered his mouth, made a few strange groans, then suddenly burst into excitement. "So delicious." He ecstatically described the pillowy, fragrant batter and the chewy, fresh octopus, each chew like sprites dancing on the tongue, flavors as if the living ocean fiercely struck the soul. He raved, "Truly unbelievably tasty." Hu Daizhong's reaction left the bald guy and the blonde bewildered. "Really? This is actually good." Lei Hong and his men immediately rushed to Chao Xiaoyang's cart, jostling to order, "Whatever. I'll eat too. Give me a portion." The tense atmosphere instantly turned lively and everyone got some. They savored the food in ecstatic delight, praises ringing out non-stop. "So delicious. This is bliss." The blonde quickly brought a takoyaki to Ahu. Ahu, you should try this too. Ahu bit down, chewing voraciously as if swallowing the stars from the sky. He shouted, eyes sparkling. The wound's healed. The pain is gone too. It's miraculous. He lifted his shirt to show off his chiseled six-pack. Even his old wound was completely healed. Excited, Ahu ran up and asked Chao Xiaoyang, "Is this also a property of the octopus meat?" Chao Xiaoyang was stunned, unsure how to answer, and forced a smile. "Well, I added a bit of seasoning to yours. Consider it a special gift." But inside he worried, "Oh no, there's a bug here. My current power isn't enough to deal with supernatural abilities. If this group learns about the system, they might capture me and exploit me to death." Chao Xiaoyang was lost in thought and didn't notice the calls around him. Suddenly he flinched and thought, "Have I been discovered?" It turned out Lei Hong had come over and patted his shoulder, eyes full of gratitude. "Didn't expect you humans to be pretty decent." Chao Xiaoyang silently thanked his luck. "This guy is simple-minded and well-built. Easy to fool." He laughed loudly. "So about that cooperation we discussed earlier?" Lei Hong nodded. "I'll consider it," but his men immediately objected, shouting, "Boss, don't listen to him. Right, weren't we injured because of him? He should be the one responsible." Chao Xiaoyang retorted at once, "You robbed my stall. Didn't I have the right to fight back?" Lei Hong's crew burst into laughter as if hearing a joke. The blonde offered a justification both logical and absurd. "We're thieves. Seeing you carry so much food, of course we'd steal it. Some people are just passionate about their work every day. You know?" Ahu added, "It's professional ethics." Lei Hong laughed and nodded in agreement. "Exactly." Chao Xiaoyang pointed at Bok Fai Fai and asked, "What about that girl? Didn't you say you don't rob women and children?" He went over to Bok Fai Fai to lecture her. "She may be a zombie, but she's still a girl. What were you sneaking around planning to do?" Lei Hong's men looked left and right and chorused, "No one did anything. No hands were laid on her." The bald one said awkwardly, "Who told her to be so pretty? We only did it for the boss." Chao Xiaoyang smirked, pleased, "Caught red-handed. What is this? Some weird hobby?" Nai Kam clapped a hand to her mouth in shock. "Even zombies aren't spared. Disgusting." Tu Lak covered Tu Lin's ears. "Don't listen." Hu Daizhong looked at Lei Hong bashfully. "Boss, you?" The men laughed loudly. "I saw you talking privately with someone before." "So it was." Lei Hong turned red and cried indignantly. "How unjust! I'm pure. How can I be blamed?" He shook his head frantically. "It has nothing to do with me." Lei Hong glared angrily at the three clever ones and barked, "What on earth is going on? Tell me." The blonde hesitated and admitted, "You're imagining things. The whole scheme was our own idea. We did it ourselves." Ahu put on a sorrowful face with teary eyes. "Boss blushes at beautiful women and still hasn't had a romance. We wanted to find a pretty zombie for you to interact with. Maybe it would cure your fear of women." The bald one chimed in, "We only meant well." Lei Hong angrily lunged forward and pummeled the three. "Good intentions, my foot. Coming up with this perverse idea. Do you think I'm some kind of pervert?" The blonde wailed, "I told you the boss isn't like that. We almost died unjustly, boss." Suddenly the system popped up. "Mission time has expired. Host, please quickly hire staff to complete the mission." Chao Xiaoyang anxiously looked at the notice. "That fast? Has it been 24 hours already? If hiring the landlady as staff counts, the mission should be complete, right?" The system calmly announced a shocking detail. "Not yet. Hiring staff requires a signed contract between both parties, and the employee must wear a special uniform to be valid." Chao Xiaoyang jumped up. Staff uniform? He imagined 7,747 different uniforms. Sexy maid, alluring doctor, or a cute bunny. His nose nearly bled from excitement as he thought, "The system has those too." As if reading his mind, the system shot back, "Host, please don't imagine nonsense. We are a serious system and do not issue clothes like that." Chao Xiaoyang grinned wickedly and turned away. The maid uniform that appeared was completely modest, far from his imagination. A flock of crows flew overhead. He muttered, Just a plain model like this. My hopes were for nothing. He handed the uniform to Nai Cam with a pitiful face. Forgot to mention earlier, store staff need clean, neat, easily identifiable attire. So uniforms are necessary. These 3 sets are for you. Nai Cam and Tulak looked at the outfits with distorted faces. Tulak complained, even kids like us have to wear them? Seriously, what a hassle. But Tulin happily admired the new dress. So excited. It's new, Chao Xiaoyang reminded them. Everyone's got new clothes. Change into them now. In broad daylight, Nai Cam casually lifted her shirt to change. Chao Xiaoyang hurriedly stopped her, pointing to a hidden corner and saying seriously, no need to rush. There are a lot of people here. You can change inside. Lei Hong's men shook their heads, swallowed, and chorused. No need to pay attention to those details. Nai Cam ignored them and put on the white shirt. But because of her prominent physique, she struggled and complained, this is too tight. Do you have a larger size? Seeing this, Lei Hong couldn't react in time. His nose bled and he fainted. His men panicked and shouted, Boss! The boss fainted. Chao Xiaoyang angrily rushed over. Cover Nai Cam! Then barked, behave yourselves. He closed his eyes, when suddenly something soft fell on his head. He looked up and saw something as soft as a steamed bun. He picked it up curiously. What's this? Then he looked up at Nai Cam and froze. Good heavens! This body, he yelled. Are you teasing me? Surprise, it's his teammate. Nai Cam had removed all her outerwear and smiled at Chao Xiaoyang. He was terrified, limbs going limp, stammering. You look like you fell from the clouds. Man, why are you dressed like this, causing such misunderstandings? Nai Cam laughed heartily and cheerfully replied, I never said I was a woman, so why be surprised? The blonde gaped in astonishment. Could it be a ruse to lure enemies by pretending frailty? Ahu excitedly praised, brilliant. Nai Cam bashfully rubbed her head and said proudly, no, it's just a personal preference. Tulak wasn't too surprised and whispered to Tulin, the boss calls this boss's feminine wear. Tulin nodded. The boss loves pretty dresses. Lots of them. But unfortunately can't wear them out.
Cao xe liang cry in wali, cu sơ you, ngai cam, you đi set phun roger.
My dream of attractive female staff in sexy uniforms and office romance has gone up in smoke. Nai Cam immediately understood and scolded. You're such a lecher. Just then the system suddenly announced a countdown. Host, please quickly complete the mission. Do you confirm hiring the other party? Chao Xiaoyang perked up and asked excitedly. Do I even have any other choice? After a moment, he looked at the employment contract prepared for Nai Cam and reluctantly signed to confirm, his face contorted. Bok Fai Fai stood nearby happily watching him, then handed the contract to Nai Cam. Please sign right here. Chao Xiaoyang nearly dropped the paper, torn and turned his face away. Nai Cam glared at him in disgust. What kind of face is that? If it weren't for the food, who would want to work for you? Chao Xiaoyang looked at the contract and thought bitterly. The system is forcing me. Others get harem beauties and ascend to greatness, while I have to raise kids with a man. Nai Cam quickly grabbed a pen to sign, but at that moment Bok Fai Fai darted over like the wind, bit down on the contract and sprinted away. Chao Xiaoyang and Nai Cam stared after her in a daze. He shouted, No way! Although both were stunned, Bok Fai Fai still clamped the paper in her mouth and ran off. Chao Xiaoyang had no choice but to chase her, trying to pull the contract from her mouth, yelling, Don't eat that! The employment contract was now full of bite marks.
Bạch phi phi stuk bi, biu wiu.
The system suddenly confirmed. Contract completed. A surge of divine aura rolled over Bok Fai Fai. Her eyes shone brightly, radiating a strange power. In an instant she transformed into a beautiful maid, splendid as if stepped out of a painting.
Cao xe liang stut froren, helper lamenting, oh heaven.
He shouted, his voice booming, I don't want to work with a zombie. Sometime later, Nai Cam still harbored the old grievance and scolded Chao Xiaoyang. Blind much? You passed over someone beautiful like me to hire a zombie. Nai Cam proudly set a condition. But because of the contract compensation, I won't hold it against you. Chao Xiaoyang smiled outwardly, but inside he felt shattered. The contract isn't even signed. Where would the penalty money come from? You're forcing me. If you don't compensate, you'll wreck my cart. He looked at the ruined house and sighed. This place is unlivable. What do you plan to do from now on? Nai Cam replied cheerfully. I talked to people in the Jinglei Corps. They're willing to take us along. Chu Lak and Chu Lin hugged their small pillows, beaming. Chu Lak grinned at Chao Xiaoyang. Lei Hong said he'll teach me fighting and cell guns, so I can protect the boss and my sister. Chao Xiaoyang chuckled. That's good. He thought to himself that although they were robbers, they weren't bad people. With them guarding, the two children would be safer. Xiao Ling ran over and gently tugged his shirt, handing back a card with Bai Pai Pai's photo. Sir, this was dropped by that sister when she changed clothes. Chao Xiaoyang looked at the card and recognized the ID number and name. So her name was Bai Pai Pai, an employee ID. He couldn't take his eyes off the card. Loi Hong gave Chao Xiaoyang a map and said sincerely, Kid, this is where we're temporarily stationed. We won't be moving. If you run into trouble, come find me. Chao Xiaoyang looked at the map, surprised. Lin Guqing Mountain. The law is vast. The heavens are wide. No one can escape. He shook his head in admiration. You people sure picked a good spot. Loi Hong laughed and patted his shoulder. What about the prison? Nobody wanted to go in before. Now there's no place safer. Mr. Cam excitedly ran over and hugged Loi Hong. Exactly. Big brother Loi, you're truly clever. Can you give me a private room later? Loi Hong's fear of women flared up. At the sight of Mr. Cam, he bolted away. Stay away from me, he shouted. Someone find him some men's clothes. Mr. Cam shook his head. I won't. Dress is freedom. Got it? I only like wearing women's clothes. Finally, the group piled into vehicles and left. Xiao Ling and Xiao Lu looked at Chao Xiaoyang and waved. Sir, goodbye. The Lightning Brigade waved enthusiastically. Kid, don't let the zombies eat you. We'll come visit you again. Chao Xiaoyang felt warmed and waved back with a smile to see them off. He looked at Bai Pai Pai's staff card and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know what the future held. But you never know until you try. He turned to Bai Pai Pai. I hope you'll take good care of them in the future. But then he froze. Huh? Where did she go? Bai Pai Pai had just been here but had vanished. Looking around, he found her climbing onto her beloved cart, gnawing on something. Chao Xiaoyang shouted angrily, Don't eat that! The sound of gnawing mixed with his curses echoed through the deserted city. Bai Pai Pai, as if itchy-toothed, bit down hard on the cart's handle. Chao Xiaoyang ran over in a rage and pulled her away. I told you that's not food. Spit it out. But Bai Pai Pai stubbornly growled and clamped her teeth on the handle. Chao Xiaoyang gave a strong tug, and the handle came off in his hand, causing the cart to collapse into pieces. He stared in horror at the wreckage, unable to believe his eyes, and shouted, Oh my God! Bai Pai Pai sat like a little kitten, obediently chewing the handle and looking at him innocently. Chao Xiaoyang suddenly recalled, Wait, no one used the elasticity feature. How did a few bites break it? He urgently contacted the system. Second brother, I suspect this cart is defective. Request a replacement. The system replied immediately, Account holder, don't worry. I'll ask my superiors. But then it regretfully announced, Request denied. Chao Xiaoyang fumed. On what grounds? The system explained. According to the item's description, the elasticity feature only protects staff and property from external attacks. It does not work on people inside the shop. Bai Pai Pai is staff, so damage caused by her is the account holder's responsibility. Chao Xiaoyang roared. Why wasn't that told earlier for something so important? He looked at Bai Pai Pai and sighed. If I'd known, I'd sooner choose expensive jewelry than this husky disguised as a person. Heartbroken, he sat down staring at the pile of cart wreckage, lamenting, Oh no! How am I supposed to fix this? The system appeared and comforted him. Account holder, don't worry. You're only 100 points short of upgrading the shop. Complete the task to upgrade the prop. Chao Xiaoyang hurried. Then what are we waiting for? Give me the task. A ting sounded as the system announced a new mission. Collect 500 gene of edible meat within 24 hours. Completion will grant a reward. Chow Xiaoyang pondered. 500 gene. In the apocalypse, even 5 gene of fresh meat is hard to find, let alone 500. Then his eyes lit up and he slapped his hand excitedly. Perfect! He recalled a large chicken farm nearby. He flipped through his cookbook, studying. Among mutated beasts, mutated chickens have low combat ability. The virus concentrates in the brain, organs, fat, and feet. Remove those parts, and the breast and thigh meat are very fresh and delicious, rich in protein, suitable for replenishing stamina. He exclaimed eagerly, "Then the chicks in the coop are coming with me." But a mutated rooster suddenly switched to combat mode, its eyes blazing red, its crow piercing. Chow Xiaoyang hid behind a rock, thinking, mutated chickens are just bigger and generally not different from normal chickens. The problem is their numbers. He'd have to separate and deal with them one by one. He looked at Bai Pai Pai. Time to use you. Chow Xiaoyang made a plan and pantomimed thousands of moves for Bai Pai Pai to understand. He asked, "Does she understand?" Bai Pai Pai nodded cheerfully. He ran into the middle of the flock and ordered, "Little Bai, act!" Bai Pai Pai took the order and charged out with the wooden plank, but forgot the plan and ran straight toward him. Chow Xiaoyang yelled, "Not that way. This way. This isn't a game." The flock detected something wrong. All turned, their eyes blazing with murderous intent as they lunged at Bai Pai Pai. Terrified, she bit the plank hard, jumped onto the loft, and looked down at the furious chickens.
Cao Xiaoliang Stipek Buck.
Panicking, "We're doomed." He ran for his life. The supersized rooster chased after him, targeting him like prey, pecking repeatedly. He screamed, "Oh my God! Somebody help me!" The sharp beak clamped into his butt. He ran and yelled, "This beak is so sharp." The rooster quickly caught up. Ahead was a sturdy fence. There was no escape. Chow Xiaoyang summoned all his strength and sprinted to the fence, joyfully discovering a hole someone had dug. "I'm alive!" He lunged through the hole and escaped safely. Chow Xiaoyang sat panting in the pit, his heart racing. The roosters rushed over like a pack of crazed zombies, ferociously clawing at the iron fence. They snarled at him, eyes full of hatred, frantically digging at the ground.